Hi everyone, I'm Kritisha.
And I am Aditya.
And welcome to Dhikichyau, the podcast. Today we had a very wholesome conversation with Bishestha Shrestha. She is the co-founder of Gyanbodh. She's also involved with Daitwa and she's a PhD candidate. She actually did her studies in international development, clinical psychology, and later on gender studies as well. And she has been working in this area for the past 6-7 years. So we were very intrigued to know how she unfolded her journey with gender studies and why she is doing what she is doing today. And we had a very intimate conversation with her, Aza. And we also talked about her campaign, Why Didn't I?, which talks about why sexual abuse and sexual assault survivors don't come forward and talk about their stories. So we actually had a lot of learning that we did this episode, and we hope you guys will do as well. So enjoy the podcast. Welcome, Bishesta Di.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
She's recently married now.
Yes.
So how are you feeling, Ali? How?
So that's a very trick question, I would say, is because I have not really found time to put my thoughts together to really answer that. And then throughout the wedding, it was always angry, annoying, exhausted. And then it was never a happy moment. And then
Stress boy,
yeah, it's because like you're a more controller, right? No, like just to and like if it doesn't happen, like and then I don't remember really like in like the Swember matra like there were moments where I felt like we were laughing a bit, but other time except of Mehendi, because Mehendi is more like drinking and dancing. Arubella, I felt so annoyed all the time because everybody were nosy rosies. Everybody had opinions like yo garo, tyo garo, estay hunu parne, and I don't know who made them the police of getting married. So I really don't have answer for that right now. But so far so good. The married life has been pretty. I thought it'd be very challenging because you're like leaving 30 years of your life, and all of a sudden you're going to go back. It's like going back to a hostel, trying to make friends, trying to find where the data is, and all. But I think I exaggerated those changes a lot, and then.
So was it helpful that way?
I think it was because I depicted the worst. So I didn't get the worst. So I felt like worst got a worst matapayan. It's fine. Adjustable was so.
So you managed the expectation accordingly.
Yeah. Not bad. As dreadful as a lot of people stories are. So especially I work in this field, and I meet a lot of women whose marriage has been de-empowering them or has been an obstacle for them. So I feared that a lot. Internalize gare story. So I felt like, it's not bad.
Yeah. So we wanted to start with your journey first. Because you've been associated with Gyanbodh and also Daitwa. You've been I think you did a major in clinical psychology as well.
Yes, I did my BSc.
Yeah, and you also gender studies. Yes. So what led you to this journey, pursuing this path? So for our listeners.
Initially, when I wanted to do my BSc in psych, I just knew I had to do something medical, something related. Doctorate porno. Like a lot of people discouraged me to go back to studying doctor. I did my high school mapani science. It was because they always thought that you're such a vocal person, you're such a bubbly, cheerful, and you're so out there going. And doctor boy, just out there going, you're
don't want to match your personality.
Yeah, it doesn't match my personality. You're gonna be this. I'm always been a nerd, but nerd mapani, you've always had a fun element, so that would take away. And when I was finishing my 11th grade, I lost my mom, and she was the one who wanted me to go into medical. So I thought by doing BSc in clinical psychology, and I was always interested in psychology, behaviors and then yeah मान्छेले किन यसरी बोल्यो होला yeah why is that person twitching, why is that person doing this and then because it's all into behavioral science अनि त्यसमा interested भएको भएर चाहिँ I started my journey in BSc psychology अनि त्यहाँबाट when I graduated my bachelor's ल म काठमाडौँ आउँछु म केही साइकोलोजीमा बसेर गर्छु and I did not realize when I came back to Kathmandu that psychology is a foreign language. So when I said, oh, I want to pursue, I really wanted to get into clinical psychology, especially specialize in schizophrenia. त्यो hallucinatory world, I was very inclined towards it. अनि जान्दाखेरि नेपाल आएपछि my bubbles were burst. Everybody was like, oh, अब पुलिसमा जागिर खान्छौ तिमी. Because like अब psychology भन्दाखेरि they understood एकदमै CID types हुन्छ नि दरवाजा टोर्दा like एकदम त्यस्तो and then so they thought I would get into police and that also I wouldn't qualify because I have too many tattoos to get into it apparently then I don't know about now.
No, oil is the same. You can't have scars. You can't have tattoos.
Yeah. So I couldn't and I didn't want to basically. So I just मेरो minor मैले journalism मा गरेको थिएँ. So I had started working in ECS like writing गर्ने हुन्छ नि. Then I started in Wow magazine. Then also in हाम्रो Wave magazine. And like magazines world मा चाहिँ I was writing and I was like doing a few things over there which I was not satisfied with. Then I ended up working in Himalayan Times as sub-editor and that was a night job. Oh. And a night job and it's a world completely different, like very male dominated. All senior editors are male. And I was the only girl and then I had Arko Sathi Ashmita Vanira. And then we were only 2-3 of us, only girls, and very young. Like others were very senior to us. And it was intimidating for somebody who's just started a career in that line. And I didn't felt safe. It's not because of how they behaved. I just felt unsafe due to numerous reasons. And then I quit. And then Bhukampa happened. Okay. Then the earthquake of 2015 happened. And I was always this person whose happiness relied on other people's giving and well-being. Because I always felt like I was privileged enough to be where I am, to get that education, to be able to do whatever I want. And I just had to name it. And then my father would work around and like help me get whatever I wanted. And I always wanted to share that because ma matrai ma simit bhayo bhane ta ma matrai khusi matrai hunu paina the people around me needs to be happy, then I can be really happy bhanne chai thought process thyo. Ani I was always giving so as a school like ma Shubhatarama padhakeri chai tyo so there's this Buddha Baje always there. I was in 8th grade and I'm a day scholar, but then I used to go by like my driver used to drop me every time. And I always used to see him. That was like what 2004 or 5. मनमा चाहिँ लाग्थ्यो कि म यो बाजेलाई केयर गर्छु, like I'll buy him something, I'll give him something, I'll sit and talk with him. Like I don't know where that came from, but like most probably because I'm always passing by and I'm just curious about him. Okay, he's there, he's cleaning that mandir without anybody asking him to do it. He comes diligently and then he does it diligently. He's there and but people still mistreat him. Okay. They still look at him in a very disgusted way. And I felt like, why? Like, he's the person who's taking care of this place, this Bhagwan, and people go and worship there. But why are you disgusted with somebody who actually takes care of the Bhagwan? The thought process, but it never happened. 8th grade boy, 9th grade boy, 10th grade boy, and it never happened. And then I went back to India to finish my high school. अनि हाई स्कुल पनि सक्यो देन लाइक हुन्छ नि छुट्टीमा आउने देख्ने त भइ नै रहेको थियो कि बट आई कुड नेभर टेक द फर्स्ट स्टेप हुन्छ नि सो आई फिनिश माई क्लिनिकल साइकोलोजी एन्ड आई केम ब्याक एन्ड आई वाज वर्किङ विथ द ECS देन एन्ड ECSको अफिस वाज राइट अराउन्ड देयर सो वेन आई वाज वर्किङ देयर आई युज टु अब it's so much closer ni ta haina. And I felt like no, I need to do this once. And then one step liएपछि it's going to be easier. Right? So I was eating in lunchbox then Jimmy Daiko shop. त्यहाँ खाँदै थिएँ and I don't know from where all that your pending courage and then it just flew like it filled me in. And then I bought the अब मन्दिरमा हैन अब पहिला त मन्दिरमा non-veg I don't know what and then out of nowhere I was thinking veg fried rice and and then I took him the meal and I went there and then he was so happy and the thing that really caught me was he saying to me तिमीले किन गरेको I can't give you anything. And then that really took me aback. And that really took me aback saying that people who can give never said that to me. Never. Usually हामी पैसा लिने दिने गरेर हान्छ नि त साथीहरुसँग and we know they're well off. We know they can spare something and give back and do things like that. But they'll never say it. They'll never say it, even though you're in need. And they'll listen to you and they'll be like, oh, I'm so sorry. But then they'll never say, I can, like, give you. And give you something. Like, how can I help? But a person, at least in my eyes, who's barely making through the day is... Like, I gave him a plate of rice and he says, I cannot give anything to you, but only blessings. I was just taken aback. That is humanity, like human nature. Where we are, how we do, what we think. And then the bhukampa pachi, so every month I got my salary. I used to buy him sugar-free biscuits and then he sit with him, and I used to ask him, how long will he live this time? He's pretty old. And he used to like turot. And turot I never bought for him because I thought like, I don't want to encourage that behavior. And and people used to look at me like passing people like crazy. What is this person who looks just about fine? And he's sitting with him and kick off around like and like these, it really made me happy. It became a very sane place for me, where whenever I was in doubt of a lot of things, whenever I felt really low in life, and I used to go to him. So it kind of became a sanctuary. And I thought by giving to people, this is how it really helps me, like my anxiety and all my thoughts process. So I went along and then Bhukampa Bhaira and WHR, Women for Human Rights भन्ने संस्था छ. त्यो संस्थामा चाहिँ stumble गरेँ and my friends had put up like we were looking for volunteers, we were trying to cook meals and then create a sanitary bags for women हैन. So wherever is free, your location or whatever. And then I went there for almost 2 weeks and I had like more injured back from Bhukampa. I had hurt my back, but I just felt like people are like
people have it worse, Khalil.
Yeah, people have it worse, and I'll just buckle up and go. And I'm like, suti, nobody's getting help. And 2 pairs of hands is better than none. And I wanted to work there. I was like, I decide a job opening. I don't know. I've never worked in a development field before. And then I asked Sumirati, who's the executive director of Women for Human Rights now, and then senior program manager. Malai say I can write, and say I'm a good writer, I'm a good speaker. Malai, do you think I can get any kind of work in WHR? And in that time, because of earthquake, everybody were giving funds and applying and reporting, and so there were like numerous spaces, and I got lucky. So earthquake was a bliss for me in that space. And then I got introduced to development world. And then from WHR, I really started seeing through gender lens. Gender lens, when I could see my grandparents discriminate me between my brothers and the boy and the girl kind of discrimination. Always was curious why. So WHR, then I started really understanding, oh, that's why. त्यो kind of understanding को growth चाहिँ भयो. And since I'd already worked there for 2 years, I'd worked in Gorkha, I worked in various different projects in WHR, I worked in हाम्रो Tripura area, the slum areas. I worked there with Open Idea Project, and त्यही बसेर 1 year human-centric design बनेर. So like every day it was like learning, like things that I've not been able to see because of privilege because of numerous things because I've never had to see it despite of me being a woman or a girl as a child I did face a lot of discrimination. I remember दसैँको बेलामा चाहिँ मेरो दाइलाई हात्तीको नोट दिएको थियो अनि मलाई चाहिँ 5 रुपैयाँको हुन्छ नि 100 वटा कि 10 वटा चाहिँ यसरी फैलाएर न तलायो भनेर चाहिँ दिएको थियो के. Maybe I'm overthinking that moment, but I also remember my grandparents were very rude towards me. Like, like I was always discriminated, okay? Even amongst my sisters and brothers. So, though you're a baggage from childhood, I think I felt like I was at home when I was working in that developmental field, when I was talking with the women, I could resonate with them and they could resonate with me. So I found that space and I felt like, okay, this is where I really want to be. Clinical psychology, bye-bye, journalism, bye-bye. Okay, I'm going to start a new one. And then I went off to States. I tried doing masters, and that's it. All the time I was thinking, why am I here? What am I doing? My perfume, because like you don't get jobs there, right? You don't get a good job, so you get a $5 per hour job, and then all of a sudden you're like, what are you doing? Yeah, that's the.
What were you pursuing there?
I was pursuing Masters in International Development Studies. So, I money transfer to Thailand, where I felt like it was closer to home and Asian roots and more opportunities. Two window and I didn't have to work my ass off pay the bills and like I felt like, okay, this is something I could do, and then I just transferred like in a heartbeat. And then I think, no, America because I saw my friends and all, and they struggled. It wasn't because I wanted to study or like my masters break masters I was in a very delusional kind of space. And I stumbled into Chulalongkorn University, and I didn't know it was very like a Ivy League kind of Thailand university. I just applied, I just went, I got in, I went. And once I went to Thailand, I realized, oh, I went to a good school just about there. And then I think the professors over there were really nice. So in Thailand, we called professors the Achans. Achana, they're very nice. And then I really enjoyed learning so त्यसरी I came back here. त्यहाँ चाहिँ मैले के सिकेँ भन्दाखेरि gender is political in nature. Okay, हाम्रो politics is gendered and gender is also political in nature. But and it was like such an epiphany for me when I was in Bangkok. My thesis was also in gender for sure, and disaster because that's where I started my journey with the gender Thailand it's not different. Okay, it's not different in the sense women men roles are still the same. But I found Bangkok more LGBTIQ pro space. It's anywhere they're accepted. So I think that's how my journey began, and that's how my lenses grew. And I came back. I worked for organizations. I worked for consultancy. I had my own organization, Gyanbodh, with whom I co-founded with other 2 people. So to matter my gender mapani. There are so many things to do in gender. And more research, more masters for that research garda krama केही नभेटाउने के नेपालमा डकुमेन्टेसन नै छ Like if you want to look for one thing, you want to write about one thing, there's nothing. You always have to take the context from America. You have to take context from Africa. And then you have to learn to contextualize in Nepal. So that's the struggle. So मैले सोचे म आइएलओमा काम गर्दाखेरि म थाइल्यान्डमा त they already have a good documentation process and all. यो skill त मैले नेपाललाई दिन सक्छु नि त हैन यो documentation process if I make it available for the future researchers and even for our future generations to come, my daughters, my sons, हुन्छ नि उनीहरूले पनि अब के खोज्यो भने त पाओस् न हैन so त्यसरी चाहिँ so far I've moved ahead with my life or my vision हुन्छ नि is to create a space like एउटा अर्को कुरा चाहिँ हामी you just turn social studies को book. Do you find a woman over there as a leader in a role of Prithvinarayan Shah हुन्छ हैन भानुभक्त हुन्छ all these people we know from by heart हुन्छ नि उहाँहरूको नाम योग मायाको नाम त हामीले धेरै पल्ट सुनेछौँ नि the contribution she's done for the women rights को feminism को त्यो sphere मा why is she not there? And she is one of the person who actually fought against Rana regime. And now she has a huge contribution she's made for this country. I mean, one of the contributions she's made, that is why we are where we are. But why is she not included? It's because documentation is right. There are not many people who think that women's lives, struggles, or their contributions are important. So a larger vision of mine is to work in that sphere, research गर्ने, बोल्ने, document गर्ने. I don't know if it'll be useful or not, but hopefully someday कसै नि त कोही curious mind आला नि खोज्नुलाई यो document गरेर. So yeah, that's how so far it's been gone for me.
Interesting.
Long journey.
A lot of things we picked up from your journey, Vanam, but we often get that you talked a lot about how privileged you were and the privilege you got that there's a lot of things you were not aware of. And then so like earthquake was that blanket uthai there. So I think for us it was the COVID-19 for us it was the lockdown, but oftentimes I'm the privileged blanket it just like blocks us from all the happenings in the society and we just live in our own bubble. And our ambitions and goals in life also are within that bubble. So we want to do what we see, and we often see our parents who have done well for themselves, and that's how that is the place where we want to go. But obviously being curious, you meeting the old man at Kanditastan and all of that is very like curiosity and like asking questions and being empathetic, like wanting to know other people's story, like and just like listening to other people. I think like that's a huge step. I think like that is what I get from your story. Another thing I really wanted to ask was you mentioned that when you were in 11th grade you lost your mother. So how did that play a role in your, because that is a pretty vital age on the 11, 12 adolescence.
It was very my mom was a very strong spearheading person. She did what she wanted. She was not scared. So she was that kind of a role model for me. But in many ways, my mother was also very controlling. And I think that's where I get my controlling habits. This is how I want. This is what it's supposed to be. This is And when we knew for the longest time she was sick. But then she never told us it was cancer. Because she really, I wanted to go to India back. To go complete my high school. And then my mother really didn't want me to stop. Because if she would have told me she had cancer, I wouldn't have gone. For sure. Like who would want to leave their parent and go when they're going through such thing? And then she didn't. And she actually came to drop me in the hostel and she went. And so my youngest brother was also dumped with me. So he got stuck basically. And when my 11th grade was complete, like हाम्रो ठ्याक्क सकेको थियो कि exams. And basically, we had a teacher called Smiley. Her real name was Muskan. So we students, you know how we are. We just give names, and her name was Smiley. And then she called us, and she's like, "Oh, you guys have to go back home. Like, pack kara, na puja ko lai bola cha bhanyo." And I was like, well, my mother is not religious, and especially when it comes to education, she wouldn't have called us like all the way from Nepal to do a puja. And because my mom was very like like education is a must kind of person. Like education sangai, a sport, a music, and like I always tell to a lot of my friends I'm a prodigy child gone wrong. Halfway through gare and halfway through I stopped. So she was that kind of a person, and I didn't understand her views, but when I was like first grader, so I hated Saturdays because morning I hated Saturdays. Morning I had to go for my swimming training, 6 to 8, come back, then have my breakfast. Then my piano teacher would come. Then I would sit down for another hour of piano, like it is Sunday, like dabbing through those keyboards, cookies. And then after that lunch, and after the lunch, I'd have my tuition teacher come by. After my tuition teacher goes, and then again snacks. And then my dance teacher would come. Like, I hated my Saturdays. And I had to really beg for birthday parties. And then, usko birthday auna so please, mama. Bhande like a month ago, dekhi ni ruma thalnu parne thyo ke mero. But then maybe she thought that I was too young to understand what she was trying to do. Now I understand. Okay? Now I understand. त्यति pressure only for मेरो दाइ भाइलाई थिएन कि फेरि दिनभरि बसेर खेल्ने खाने. I used to envy them भन्छ नि. And I went to hostel because I envied my eldest brother because he was so loved. He had such a chill life. And तँलाई यो चाहिन्छ नानी भन्छ नि. You don't want to eat, don't eat. You don't want to play cricket, don't play भन्छ नि. But I didn't have that life. And then so I thought if I go to hostel and I went along with him, like, you know, my life's gonna change. It's gonna be like Saturdays are gonna be chill. It's not gonna be as, but it didn't. So that was just a delusion I was living, or like that life I wanted that didn't happen. And my mom was very strict, and my mom the education ma pani ekdam strict. Not to my brothers, definitely for me. I was a 99% student. मेरो 99 बाट 98 झरेको थियो. मैले टिचरकै अगाडि झापड खाएको थिएँ. So like I was like kept in that level. के भन्छ नि? I was kept in that level, like यो भन्दा तँलाई त जानै पाउँदैन. So
only for you, not for your brothers.
Only for me. My brothers flunked, like they flunked real hard. And my mothers kind of accepted that, and I didn't understand that. Okay. उसले चाहिँ फेल हुन पाउने म कहिले फेल like 99 बाट 98 पनि ल्याउँदाखेरि I was whacked in front of my teacher. And then I remember like never leaving my study room हुन्छ नि. For every birthday I got an encyclopedia. Every birthday. It was that bad for me. So like I always say, it was a prodigy child gone bad. And then I swam for nationals. Like everything was like yay के हुन्छ नि. Like एउटा ठाउँमा पनि glitch हुन नहुने space थियो के मेरो लागि चाहिँ. अनि I've never shared this with anyone actually. हुन्छ नि that as a child the pressure like culminating on my shoulders as a 5-year-old, as a 4, I never could be that. So as a child I grew up very chito okay.
You were forced
like,
to grow up.
I didn't have a childhood. And I was forced to always be, to create that level. And always. Okay? And I am that child who is every friend's hated because every friend's parents liked me. Because I was always on the top.
उसको छोरी हेर्न उले
comparison.
विशेषता जस्तो गर्नुपर्छ, विशेषता जस्तो पढ्नुपर्छ हुन्छ नि. So I was always been that friend हुन्छ नि. As a friend I was very bad हुन्छ नि. And I think I've traumatized few of my friends as a kid पनि हुन्छ नि. यस्तो हुनुपर्छ types हुन्छ नि. And like I remember a lot of their parents would just leave their child and come to me and I कस्तो गर्यो विशेषताले हुन्छ नि.
उसको मार्क्स हेरौँ त खाले.
So it was that was me. And I went to India, and it was still that. And all of a sudden, there was nobody to pressure me. Yeah? Like after my mom passed away, I just felt like there's no pressure. There's like no stone on my shoulders. There is nothing culminating, or like who's gonna put that pressure on me now? Because my father, he's a businessman. He was half the time in the sky, like flying one country to another, and my brother is pretty chill. Like they have nothing in life, and all of a sudden it was so no pressure. Where am I going? It was the direction in nabhako jasto bhayo ke malai chai. And I fell into depression really hard. And then I got into bad habits, drinking, smoking, whatever you can name it. But then also I was like, I think because of that childhood, controlling. I started controlling my life, not others, but my life. I thought that now mom is not there, I needed to be the figure. And like I remember I didn't cry in my mother's funeral because I thought now it's me. Because my mother wouldn't. Why would I? My father was breaking down. He was always a crybaby, but also he was obvious. He loved his wife, and like and he was blaming, and he was like, there was so much of mixed emotions in that space. And my youngest brother was giving kriya, like the ago to my mother, and like a lot of things was happening. And I was like, I have to be strong. Because like literally I can see everybody falling apart. And there's my sisters on the floors, my father is breaking down, my eldest brother is trying to support my younger brother. And I felt like, oh no, I have to be that person. I have to be that rock. I had to be it. So I was the person to tell my father, don't cry. She's in a better space. Like I was that person to tell him, what is the point of crying? Now we have a life ahead. You still have us. There's no point. So it was, but then also I didn't realize that just like trying to act strong, trying to be strong, had a very much of an emotional damage on me, because I was bottling up, and I was pouring into somebody else's glasses, theirs, and there's nobody pouring into my matka. Maybe it was broken, they were pouring and I didn't see it, who knows. But I felt like my glass was always empty because I was always pouring into other people's. And it was like a depression that was spiraling down. Anymore, high school sakai zabardasti, however, through whatever emotions, because I was pretty numb then. I didn't know because there was, like I said, there's nobody pressuring me to perform better. I didn't feel the need to do well. There was nobody to report to. There was nobody to report to. I don't know, I think my father was coping up with the fact that mother was gone. So who was that person to me? So I was in that search. Like I felt like I needed to find somebody to give me pressure. And then I realized I can be that person. So all of a sudden when I took a gap year, because I just felt like I needed to breathe. Just too much of emotions. And my reason was to go to America, I know, but it wasn't. I knew I was going to go to India for sure. I just needed break. Of whatever was happening. And then Teti Bella, I was like, Teti Bella, my mom put me into the habit of always being super proactive. Teti Bella, I became the charter president of Road Track Club of Chandragiri. And I was still teaching dance. I was still teaching in rupees, like just volunteering jobs at Ro, and learning how to ride a scooter, teaching my best friend to ride a scooter. Like I was always that person. But then I never touched base on how I was feeling. All of that proactiveness was on to ignore how I was feeling. I didn't want to neg. I just didn't want to feel neg. But then after I think I went to Bangalore to do my BSc, I realized because of psychology, I could not deny. I have to be present very emotionally to take that course, right? I couldn't deny. And that was when accepting a lot of things that I had denied for the rest of my life, and came, like I had to face it, nahe? And then I realized me going to study in Bangalore was also running away from whatever is at home, and then not to deal with it. So after all of that, I think my mom was my role model and was my pressure points, and so it was very difficult journey, okay? And there was in our the nosy rosy scenario ma bastham, everybody is like, oh, like, you know, they'll see me after years and they'll be like, oh, kasto dublais, oh, kasto kali bhais, oh, kasto motais. They never ask, like, we don't come from a culture, how you're feeling, how you're coping.
Do you think your mom always pressured you and not your brothers? Because, like, I'm a society, like your dad is well off, right? So obviously the mentality is the brothers eventually they're gonna inherit, and their family, like their life is gonna be
comfortable,
good. It's gonna be comfortable.
Definitely.
But then you're gonna have to marry someday and go to somebody else's house. So she wanted you to be like you know, the best possible person you could be. So maybe like she knew she was passing away. And
I mean,
that was her way of, you know.
The weirdest thing is, she always told she doesn't have longest time to live. Okay.
Early on, like
earliest on, I remember in first grade, second grade, like the conversation between me, like her and my father. But they thought I'm not smart, but she forgot she made the smart kid out of me. But then the bond to Nick. And in a way, maybe that was something that was in my head all the time. Okay, and like, and then like you said, my mother suffered as after marriage. So my like biha gareko, my fears around marriage also came from there. Okay, my mom was my father's second wife. Hence the discrimination. And my mother
and
had the
your brothers,
they're the only sons, the Jetho, the lineage dininta. So they weren't treated bad.
So were you from the second, like your mother, right?
So we are 5 siblings is what we say. 2 are from my Tula mommy. So my मेरो आमा भन्दा नि अगाडिको wife of my father, and then मेरो आमाबाट चाहिँ हामी 3 जना. So it's my eldest brother, me, and my younger brother. But then I always say we are 5. And it's because what our parents did does not mean we have to carry on. That's a baggage, right? So we're 5 siblings. But then my mother knew I will suffer the most because she suffered. Like मेरो आमाले भन्थ्यो, she was a scholar. She was very good in her studies. And then college गरेर आउँदाखेरि, and my grandfather used to tell her this, okay? अब यसले जागिर गर्छ नि, यसको जागिरको पैसा चाहिँ हामीले खाने, यसको पैसामा हामी बाँच्ने, like, you know, the meal coming into it. And then त्यो झ्यालबाट हेरेर बस्थ्यो अरे, यसरी चियाएर हेरेर बस्थ्यो अरे, ए आयो भन्थ्यो अरे. And like when she's coming back from college, and then you say hi because she loved coffee, and then she did chini coffee के लुकाइदिने अरे के. Like that's how she was always treated, right? Like they really did not want her to have the easy married life. They always obstructed her, and I think she was hell-bent in making me strong, and she did. She did, and I wouldn't say her efforts were gone to waste. I think she did. I now understand why she did what she did, is because even I'm just 29, and I already have so many years of working experiences, and I meet a lot of people of my age, and we're just starting off. And it's because of my mother always making me be that person. You have to be ahead of everybody else kind of attitude. So maybe that is one of the reasons why I'm here with you all, and also I'm where I am because of her. So
thank you for sharing this story.
Of course.
Again, like in our society, so some things we don't really, you know, talk about or realize is like for you to be where you are, if it was for your brothers or like for anybody, a guy, it would have been much easier, but you just have to walk that extra mile khali ke, as a woman.
Yeah.
So thank you. But I think now we've deconstructed a lot of things. Why you studied psychology, why you know moved to US, why you didn't like then stay there, then moved everywhere. So a lot of because a lot of times professionally when we look at people, we see the introduction. It's just like you did this, did this. But actually, if you look behind the picture, there's the story, okay? Where like it actually started, why you do the things you do, and again, if you then decode again your mother's life and why she did the things she did, you become more empathetic. And I mean, growing up as kids, we were resentful, okay, towards our parents, and then they're like, when they tell us to do things, when they tell us like "Ramro report, yo gar, tyo gar," a lot of things we often resentful because we haven't looked at their life and where they come from, and reflecting on their life and their ideologies, because we oftentimes if you then like this might be too soon, but if you then like look at your grandparents also, maybe उनीहरूको लाइफमा पनि उहाँहरूले जस्तो गरेको इन्जस्टिस नै भनौँ न, maybe that came from their past, and maybe they were mistreated, or maybe that was what they had in mind. That was the only limited information that they had. Definitely. So I think just like trying to go back in time and just like deconstructing is the way forward.
Yeah, I think it's a lot about understanding the significance of things. Why we celebrate these, why we celebrate birthdays and not death. And then why do we mourn and not celebrate life? So it's a lot of, like you said, significance of understanding why he or she did. Significance, it's basically you're just floating on the surface. And you're not seeing the bigger picture of the iceberg. Because Titanic ta tupole ne talako nahereर डुबेको हो टुपोमा त यति छ, it's like Titanic like के हुँदैन भने, but just the tip of the iceberg is not enough. Like you need to see the entire picture of it. Okay.
Right.
So one thing I've learned from gender is you can never say anybody or dismiss or cancel anybody for who they are or what they've gone through or their pains. And then you're a splinter मान्छेलाई धेरै दुख्छ भने दुख्छ. How can we not? त्यति त हो भन्ने. Who are we to say that, right?
So like we sort of like sat before this also, and I think one of the areas that you wanted to talk about was how women themselves hold patriarchy in a pedestal. So is it something that came from your story? Because
in terms of this matter, so my PhD topic is how women.
Why do we not have a doctor in front of your name?
Not yet completed. That's
okay. All right.
I will be going back to Thailand hopefully next year to complete it.
All right.
I have 2 more years to put into it. So my PhD ko यो चाहिँ हैन at the menstruation बाट आएको thought process हो के मलाई.
I was asking because you said how your mom was like so pushed you to become strong, but is that the ideal way to move forward? Because
no.
A lot of patriarchy pani plays in it. Like is that where it came from, or I think you have another story for that. Menstruation.
So I think everything that builds up to my PhD topic is very personal to me. It's a theory creation like that. It shouldn't be personal. Biasness there are more observers, and I'm pretty sure you guys observe it at homes and your other conversations with friends or like in a larger dialogue forums is that when just an example, menstruation. And like I said, my mother was progressive in nature. She saw that I will suffer, so she pushed me. There one day when I was going to hostel and I forgot to buy sanitary napkins, and that is pads. I sent my father to buy it. I mean, I thought
It was normal.
It was normal. It's just like, it's a biological thing. It's not like I asked for it. No, please make me bleed. None of us wanted at some point. And then I forgot, and I was packing through it, and I forgot, and I asked my mother, my father, to go buy it, and he didn't say anything. He went, he bought, and he came, and he gave it. Nah, leave on it, and I packed my bag. My mother comes furious, and I have no clue why she's furious, eh? And she says, "Tera baulai de pathaune ho, yesto samagri kinnu pani," bhन्छ है. I was like, what did I ask him to buy? It's any stupid sanitary napkin. And these are things men shouldn't know, your brother shouldn't know. And imagine somebody who's way progressive for her times, for somebody who's fought patriarchy in the likeness of days, was telling me that. And your realization only came when I actually started getting in the world of gender. किन भने त्यस्तो अनि म त्यति बेला चाहिँ हो नि के भाउले लिएर आएर के भयो त लाइक इट्स नट अ बिग इस्यु हुन्छ नि एन्ड देन त्यो कारणले चाहिँ आई फेल्ट सेम के आई फेल्ट सेम बिकज
यसको बारेमा चाहिँ अब लुकाउनु पर्छ
लाइक आई ब्लिड I felt shame हुन्छ नि and also shameले एउटा fear पनि instill गर्छ नि त मान्छेमा meaning it controlled me. What does fear do to you? Fear controls you in ways like yo hampal भने you are scared of height, you're not going to jump हुन्छ नि. So fear controls us to act in a certain way in a society. It's a behavioral thing, हैन. And I went to I traveled a lot of countries हुन्छ नि. In Thailand, I have a friend called Pam, and I call her P Pam. And we were in a class, my discussion by that, gender class, gender man. And I didn't know, okay? I just assumed if all women across the world would have this shameful resonance with menstruation, okay? अनि बेसी मैले यो सबै कुरा गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ अनि आई सेयर्ड हुन्छ नि यस्तो यस्तो भएको हो होइन मेन्स्ट्रुएसन यस्तो हो नेपालमा छौपाटी हुन्छ बट हाम्रोमा चाहिँ होइन अर्बन सेटिङमा चाहिँ यस्तो हुन्छ द्याट्स अ भेरी रुरल सेटिङमा हुने मेबी रुरलमा त्यस्तो ठाउँ गोठ बनाउँछ भने हाम्रोमा चाहिँ लाइक सेपरेटेड मन्दिर जानुहुने फेस्टिभल जानुहुने टिका लाउनु हुने हुन्छ नि या ब्ला 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 थिङ्सहरू हुन्छ भनेर. And I had shared this story with her, like in my class. Okay, मेरो progressive family यस्तो गर्दाखेरि मेरो बाउले यस्तो गर्न लाउँदैन मैले गाली खाएँ हुन्छ नि. I still remember that so clearly in my head हुन्छ नि. अनि त्यो भन्नुन्जेलसम्म after the class ended and then all of us were sitting, so it was South Asian countries are say majority को population भएको, so there were people from Thailand, from Indonesia, from Myanmar हुन्छ नि, Vietnam, हामी चाहिँ ASEAN भनौँ न, me slightly hello नेपाल हो नि there. अनि त्यहाँ कुरा गर्दाखेरि मलाई प्यामले भनेको क्या they call me B, so B I never realized you guys go through so much. But why? I just her husband's name is Max, so she's like, I asked Max to get me pad and he actually put it on my underwear and wore it, put it on me, is because I couldn't move. I have such bad cramps. And I didn't think it was an issue until I heard you, and I was like, no, it's not an issue. That's how it's supposed to be. But it is an issue in my country. And then I realized, it was only my self-assumption that everybody goes through it. And त्यहाँबाट चाहिँ त्यो PhD को thought processes आएको, okay? So my mom, somebody became an agent, होइन, agency भन्छौँ नि हामी, agency को कुरा गर्छौँ नि, became an agency of patriarchy the day she told me that. Because she instilled fear in me. She instilled shame in me for bleeding. It's a biological clock. I didn't ask for it. I swear I didn't.
We believe you.
No, I didn't. Believe me. So she was an agent of patriarchy, agency of patriarchy. Meaning she de-empowered me to think and to do. And I didn't do so many things because out of fear, मैले यो गर्यो भने कसैलाई के भयो भने हुन्छ नि out of fear of all these things हुन्छ नि. So हामीले त्यो पेडिस्टलमा राख्नेको कुरा चाहिँ गर्छौँ के.
Definitely.
हामीले हाम्रो आमा नै हेर न खाना बाउलाई पस्किन्छ छोरालाई पस्किन्छ and then maybe छोरी होइन and then she eats at the end. She can be a PhD laureate, but still she'll do that. It's so integrated within our social DNA, our cultural DNA. We carry it, and it doesn't matter. It has nothing to do with your education at some point. Okay? You're so trained to behave. At some point, I realized I was just sitting, slowly my feet, thighs started to bridge itself and turned it into no gaps in between. So meaning that हुन्छ नि मैले नै पनि आफूलाई त्यसरी हेरेको छुइनँ क्या. म पनि एउटा एजेन्सी नै रहेछ होइन. इनिसियली मैले कतिजना के कुरा भनेको छु कि and it's all patriarchal notions of how a woman should be, of how हुन्छ नि म I used to be that person who was so concerned about looking a certain way, a certain size. I used to body shame my sister, okay? Because I never realized she's happy the way she is. She's comfortable, okay? I always pushed her, exercise gonna parsa, like she's gonna take a bite of something. I'm like, you shouldn't eat that. And I never realized that, okay? So we're all, women are patriarchal agencies. So the patriarchal agency like ke garcha? Woman like de-empower garcha ke. I'm not gonna go say to my brother, "Naha ta moto huncha sanera." And I never did. To be honest, I don't remember saying that to my brothers. I only remember saying it to my sisters, and that's the reason why I want to finish this PhD and maybe hopefully contribute something in understanding why we behave the way we behave.
Have you had alikati kunai realizations that why do women hold patriarchy? Just like your mother did, your grandparents did, and your grandmom, I think more than your granddad did. You know. So have you any realizations of why say women do that?
So through literatures and few in-depth interviews that I've done, त्यसमा चाहिँ कस्तो हुँदो रहेछ भन्दाखेरि few things that I've so far been brought into my analysis that I realized is that first, women have always been seen as a secondary citizens. I mean leftovers okay. We've never been that person who has been prioritized from the beginning. So त्यो चाहिँ हामीले realize गरे पनि हामीले यस्तो internalize गरेको छ नि हुन्छ नि meaning that हामी चाहिँ nurturers नै हो भनेर internalize गरेको छौँ कि. For instance, म जिममा हैन अब जिम गर्दाखेरि I could do squats and like 30 kgs. I used to really be able to do, not now, don't ask me now, but पहिला चाहिँ म एकदम when I was that person who had a notion about fitting into a certain size of jeans हरू त्यस्तो भन्छ राम्री हुन्छ भन्ने वालामा त्यति बेलाको भए चाहिँ now I don't care. त्यति बेला मेरो दाइले पानीको जार हुन्छ नि पानीको जार पानी सकेको थियो घोप्टाउनु परेको थियो कि घरमा अनि how much is it हैन त्यत्रो भारी उठाउने मान्छेलाई त्यो चाहिँ उठाउन नसक्ने के. अनि मैले के गरेँ मैले मेरो दाइलाई बोलाएँ दाइ पानी राखिदिनु भनेर. अनि तर the second time there was nobody around हैन. अनि मैले के गरेँ हातरी हुँदै भएन भने जराको it was light. I was like, wow, it's light, it's not heavy, like meaning I internalized the fact that I can't do this heavy lifting things in terms of chores. जिममा गएर फलाम उठाउन सक्ने हैन घरमा गएर एउटा पानीको जार उठाउन सक्ने. Imagine the,
because that's always been the men's work.
So the hypocrisy even internalized into it. Okay. So त्यो एउटा कुरा हो द इन्टरनलाइजेसन अफ सेकेन्डरी सिटिजनसिप भनेर चाहिँ के हामी सेकेन्डरीमा जे कुरा हो नि सेकेन्डरी छ नि सिटिजनसिप भन्नेमै छौँ होइन पुरुष विटनेस पर्सनहरू क्या म सिटिजनसिप लिन जाँदाखेरि मेरो ड्याडी आउनुभएको थियो मेरो बुवा आएपछि मात्रै मैले मेरो सिटिजनसिप पाएँ होइन मेरो आमा भएर हुँदैन थियो एन्ड माई मदर नेभर इभन केयर्ड हुन्छ नि अनि मेबी आई डिन्ट रियलाइज हुन्छ नि त्यस्तै के everythingमा चाहिँ we needed that the last words were always for men भन्ने जस्तै के the last laughs are for men like हाम्रो चाहिँ we are discounted we are cancelled out for who we are what we do what we contributed हुन्छ नि अनि हामीले चाहिँ modern होस् ruler होस् it doesn't matter के it is so internalized हुन्छ नि that like I said smallest things हामीले realize गरेको छैन के त्यस्तै गरिकन अर्को चाहिँ एजेन्सी क्रिएसन भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ वान अफ द थिङ्स द्याट आई फाउन्ड आउट एन्ड हेज बिन डिस्कभर्ड थ्रु माई रिसर्च इज द्याट वुमेनहरूलाई चाहिँ नट जस्ट वुमेन एजेन्सी क्रिएसन चाहिँ भइरहेछ क्या हाम्रो सोसाइटीमा लाइक वान एजेन्सी इज एजुकेसन होइन एजेन्सी फर मी इन दिस थट इज द्याट mass information people like हुन्छ नि religion is one agency हुन्छ नि एउटा thought processes behavioral beliefs installment गर्ने एउटा agency is religion भनेपछि education पनि एउटा हो नि त होइन that kind of gives you a career को notion मा who you are भन्ने notion मा support गर्ने system भयो and the other systems are agencies your friend circle होइन but women on their own are agencies okay from the day they are born okay from the day they are born बच्चा पाउने बित्तिकै a lot of people that I've interviewed have said like I was so sad when I gave birth to a daughter because I know she's gonna suffer हुन्छ नि it's not celebrated it's still not celebrated हुन्छ नि छोरा पायो भने त लड्डु पेडा आमामा गाउँ थरलाई दिन जान्थ्यो होला छोरी पायो भने गर्दैनन् होइन but what is she doing why does she feel that way It's because she is de-empowering her daughter from the day she's born, meaning she became an agent of patriarchy. Meaning all of a sudden, if the son was born, the son would have been kept in the pedestal. And the pedestal ma hamle the huncha ni chahi nachai pani the purusharलाई this is to no harm for anybody but this happens is that चढाएर राखिहाल्ने के पूजा गर्नलाई बुवालाई कुर्नुपर्ने हुन्छ नि केही गर्नुको भात पस्किनुको लागि बुवा नै आउनुपर्ने होइन इट्स नट ब्याड थिङ बट देन वाट इट डज इज like joining devalue somebody's presence, devalue somebody's belief system, devalues an entire gender and pushes somebody behind.
Do you also think a lot of times हाम्रो यो हुन्छ नि के भन्ने हाउसहोल्डकै कुराहरू गर्दाखेरि जस्तै हजुरले भन्नुभयो ग्रान्ड पेरेन्ट्स एन्ड हाउ दे ट्रिटेड यो मम डिफ्रेन्टली हुन्छ नि इट्स लाइक जुन यो सासू बुहारीको वी सी अ लट अफ थिङ्स होइन त्यो लाइक मेरो पारामा यस्तो भएको थियो सो आम गोना डु द सेम टु यु खाले क्या मेरो सासूले त तँलाई थाहै छैन मलाई त यसरी हुन्छ नि मलाई त अब हुन्छ नि अब यता सुत्नु पनि दिन्थेन खाले हुन्छ नि एटलिस्ट तिमीहरूको त अहिले धेरै बेटर छ खाले क्या सो डु यु थिङ्क द्याट पासेस अन अनि like people treat like so that is the reasoning why.
Definitely it does. I mean, I just got married and I know a lot of things that my sasu did because she said to me, though my mother-in-law is the sanest mother-in-law, I remember her when I met her for the first time, she's like, chori kehi ल्याउनु पर्दैन खाट र के अरे खाट र दसना चाहिँ आफ्नै लिएर हो है भने कि like out of everything you can ask for you're gonna ask for a खाट and a दसना. How weird is that? About me being the curious Benjamin Franklin that I am, I had to ask. I tried holding on to my tongue, but I couldn't. Kina ama भन्दाखेरि हेर छोरी रिसिरे भने बुढासँग मेरो बाउले दिएको खाटबाट निस्की भन्ने मिल्छ अरे. I like that, and I did that, and she did that as well. So there is a lot of bantering about म सानो हुँदाखेरि म बिहा गर्दाखेरि त्यो हुन्छ नै
हाम्रो पारामा यस्तो भएको थियो यस्तै नै हुनुपर्छ खाली
but then I feel like today's people, like for me, I just recently got married. For me, I feel like we have choice. Obviously there are a lot of things that she says that I don't like. But I'm not gonna fight against, because I've learned hardest ways through education, through my research, that सँग fight गर्नु is such a waste of time. Because they don't really understand where you're coming from. They don't really understand what you've gone through. What they care is for them, me, okay, is because they're getting old and they're scared of losing control over their son, over their families. They're old. They're scared that they'll not be of any use to the family. And I, like I said, understanding the significance of things is very important. So I feel for them.
Exactly.
So I never say no to my anybody. I say huncha, but I do whatever I want.
A lot of times our response to such things, since we're so liberated and educated, is to fight ke rebel ke and त्यो गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ the human instinct just goes into fighting back. You know, so obviously if you try to fight them, obviously they're just gonna grow more resentful towards you,
and they don't care. They'll win anywho. They'll break your leg, but they'll win. Okay, and I just feel like हामी उहाँहरूको बेला त एजुकेसन थिएन होइन, पेट्रियार्की वाज सो थिक हुन्छ नि. अहिले त अलिकति डाइल्युटेड भएको छ हाम्रो बेलाको पेट्रियार्की. आई मिन वी वुडन्ट बी टकिङ इफ it wasn't diluted, and we'd still be inside the gunga doing our own thing. But I just feel like what they've gone through is the past, and the past makes the future and the present. But then we have the choice. Okay, we have the choice to do what they say, fight, and go nowhere with it. And just be like, oh, she's like this, oh, she's like that. It's so annoying. Eye roll kind of conversations. Or listen, understand, and move ahead.
But you, I mean, you also have to rebel to some extent.
Yeah.
You also have to speak up.
Rebel by not rebelling is my thing. Like, for instance,
like, women are made to create that agency khaleko. So where do you break the cycle? By being calm, like listening to them, but still like breaking the system khaleko.
So for me, an example, I realized it's nothing's gonna go anywhere. When I know that's the system, what do? Huncha garsu. So I was asked not to wear short skirts, and I only wear skirts. I own 2 pair of jeans. So like I clearly have to go shopping kind of person. And especially my sasule say office जान पर्दा हे लाउनु पर्छ नि लग, but like हुन्छ नि घरमा नलाउनु भने हैन. So I said okay. Like there are a lot of questions like किन okay भने जस्तो हैन. But then what I do is I still wear it. I still wear it. I still go out, and she sees it. And so meaning that there's no friction in terms of conversation. How is she gonna make me not wear it? And she's gonna literally have to spend a lot of money in buying me a wardrobe for me not to do it. Only that's one way of doing it. But she sees it, Nita. And पछि मैले फोन गरेर एकचोटि भनेको नि छु, like I came back from a party and so we are separated. हाम्रो तल ground floor my flats and they stay upstairs. And I called my Amma and then I told her, Amma, I'm not gonna come upstairs because I'm wearing a dress. So good night. Right? She didn't want other people to see my legs. So inside the house, I didn't show it inside the house by not going upstairs. Very subtle. Very subtle, right? And I think our generation यो level को conversation गर्नु सक्छ के. Obviously there will be spaces where it's not tolerable. Or it's not tolerable. हुन्छ नि त्यस्तो ठाउँमा चाहिँ नरिसाएर हैन कि एकदमै एउटा डायलग गर्ने स्पेस क्रिएट गर्नुपर्छ के. For instance, I still want to complete my PhD. And I'm already turning 30 this year. So like we have our biological 30
Clock.
So like I never got the moment to say it. And then it dirty 30 or flirty 30. I'm married. And then it's sadness. But yeah, and then the biological clock is thinking, and I'm the person who likes to control life. And I've already thought, with my husband, then fiance, I had already discussed, I'm not going to discuss this. You need to convince me why we need to have a kid, because I really don't see myself being a mother. I mean, I love my nephews and nieces, and that's where I'm supposed to be, but not be the bearer of a child myself. But then like we had a good 6 months conversation. Some days it pissed me off, some day he was pissed, some days we were like, okay. But we did come to a middle ground. He convinced me why. And now my thought process ma चाहिँ अब बिहा हुने बित्तिकै everybody wants the things to be rolling. हैन आजकल त जे पनि one tap मा चाहिन्छ नि त गाडी चाहियो one tap coffee चाहियो one tap like you get everything in a touch but the baby needs time. It's not going to like tap it, it's not going to come. And I need time basically. I'm still warming up to the idea of giving birth or bearing a child, whatever it comes with it. And then I'm already warming up these conversations with my mother-in-law. So I put it on the table with her. And like when we were having casual conversations, and then, Ama mata PhD gonna too. I think I want to give birth in Thailand because they give epidural, and I don't want to go through C-section because in Nepal it's commercialized. I may be saying it out too soon. But then, yeah, it's commercialized. Doctors get commissions out of C-section. And almost everybody are going through C-sections.
Which is unnecessary.
It's not necessary. And this is the conversations. And making more sense, like making her see the larger things that I want to do. Like, I still want my PhD. And my mother always wanted me to be a doctor. I'm going to get a doctor in front of me no matter what. But then I don't want to rebel by creating a tensed moment in this marriage. Okay? I want them to understand why I want it. I want them to understand, no, the children is still in the books, but it's going to take time.
Yeah.
I plan it, but I plan to give birth in Thailand. And then because of my own, I want to feel safer. And many reasons. And I feel like this is not just a conversation I need to have with my husband. Obviously, financially, we have this conversation. But even with our in-laws, and what are their perception? How do they think? And it's not a one-time conversation. I bring this up whenever I can.
Right.
Whenever I can. Because it needs to sink in. Okay?
Yeah.
It's like at some point a harassment and abuse case. Okay? It takes time to sink in. And I'm throwing a bomb at them. They need a larger conversation. Okay? You can't just be like, I'm not going to give birth in 2 years. Why? Give them reasons why. You're not going to grow short, or you're not going to grow from sideways, or you're not going to lose heights anyways. So why do we limit ourselves in not having this conversation if it makes your life easy?
I think this is like one of the life skills you need to pick up, and it's not taught to us. Okay? Having uncomfortable conversations and like learning to negotiate.
I'm a queen of talking uncomfortable conversations like about sex and in random places. And then I go, okay, and I was like, why? You don't know how you're born. No, but all of these conversations are so important.
It is
because
exactly.
Sex when things are unseen, people grow curious about it. When you're told not to do it, you as a child you become curious about it.
And obviously and you don't have the right resources again. Then you look for anywhere. You look in the dark.
In the most horrible places you can find answers, and that's gonna be your understanding of things. And that might not be right.
Exactly.
That's true. I think we've like dwelled on the patriarchy side and a lot of it. That I think one of the things that we wanted to talk about was your campaign. Why didn't I? When it's sexual harassment, sexual assault. But before that, can we touch upon the difference between assault and harassment?
Yes, and definitely. So there are thin lines, and assault. So there are actually three things. There is abuse, there is assault, and there is harassment. And abuse, here, it's a sexual abuse, especially the term sexual abuse, is actually used only for children.
Okay.
Because children do not know consent. They don't know how to give consent. They don't know if it's okay or not. So sexual abuse, say, can be hugging, kissing, touching in wrong places. So त्यो चाहिँ हामीले abuse children मात्रै use गर्छ.
Sexual abuse.
Yeah, because when you grow beyond consent को 16, 18 छ भने 16 and 18 for different countries for different places. 14 देखि त आजकलको बच्चाहरू त they are very smart, tech savvy people हुन्छ नि. I was told I'm gender biased by an 11-year-old in a wedding ceremony. I don't want to deal with this generation. It's just unhandleable.
15-year-olds are going to hand it to you.
So like abuse, sexual abuse, say त्यसरी use गर्छ. But this is very theoretical, right? And again, this context मैले researcher गर्दाखेरि it's a very foreign context of the definitions, होइन. मैले नेपालको कन्टेक्स्टमा त्यसरी चाहिँ हेर्न पाएको छुइनँ, but I live by this because this makes sense to me भनेर चाहिँ हो एउटा. And then so we have assaults, sexual assaults, होइन. Sexual assaults are usually चाहिँ हामीले अफिसको स्पेसेसहरूमा हेर्छौँ क्या. The meaning, if you don't hug me, I'm going to fire you. So that's like the most common example, but the rare at the same time example of a sexual assault. Forcing you to do things, sexual orientations are doing without you wanting to actually do it.
So then there comes a power complex.
Yeah, definitely. Power is basically, we need to understand power. There is power within, self, outside, inside. The power, and that's another level of conversation. And that's अब कहाँ भन्नु म अब त्यो यो कुराहरूलाई केलाउँदै जाँदाखेरि अनि पावर र privilegeको कुरा हुन्छ कि. So I keep saying privilege is because just to build up on that.
Maybe we can touch upon that a little bit.
Yeah. So power is obviously, sexual assault मा कस्तो हुँदाखेरि हुन्छ power within and power outside हुन्छ. I forgot, but there is a report by Fez. Fez is a German organization and they are also in Nepal based. And Fez ko एउटा paper मा चाहिँ they talk about transformational leadership. So transformational leadership मा कुरा गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ हामीले power को structure कुरा गर्छौँ के. Leader भनेको त हाम्रो नेपालको स्पेसमा त authority को figure हेर्छौँ नि त. So who is authority leader? Who is a leader to you guys? भन्ने question आउँछ नि त धेरै जस्तो. अनि हामीले के भन्छौँ? Someone who हुन्छ नि कसरी lead गर्ने towards a common goal, societal innovation, and blah 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 blah. And they're all correct because leadership at the end of the day is subjective in nature. होइन कहाँ अप्लाई हुन्छ, कसलाई अप्लाई हुन्छ, होइन कन्टेक्चुअल गर्नु पर्यो नि त, होइन. त्यस्तै गरिकन अफिसमा त your boss is your boss. होइन अफिस सेटिङ त प्रोफेसनल सेटिङ भयो नि त. प्रोफेसनल सेटिङमा हामी हायरकियल हुन्छ नि. आइ एम द म्यानेजर इन दायित्व, होइन. मेरो मुनि अफिसर हुनुहुन्छ, कोअर्डिनेटर हुनुहुन्छ, लाइक हुन्छ नि प्रोजेक्ट रिसर्च एसिस्टेन्ट्सहरू हुनुहुन्छ, इन्टर्नहरू हुनुहुन्छ. मेरो माथि प्रोग्राम डाइरेक्टर हुनुहुन्छ, एक्जिक्युटिभ डाइरेक्टर हुनुहुन्छ, चेयरपर्सन, फाउन्डर, बोर्ड मेम्बर्सहरू हुनुहुन्छ, होइन. सो द्याट्स द हायरार्की अफ थिङ्स. सो म म्यानेजर भएर आई क्यान डिभाइड टास्क, होइन. आई क्यान से पिपल यो गर, यो नगर, त्यो गर भने त्यो स्पेस इट कम्स विथ माई म्यानेजरियल पोजिसन, राइट. सिमिलरली my bosses have the power to change things for me in a work setting. And so sexual assault ma cha kasto huncha ni, and I've come across these case studies numerous times, होइन. Women, first of all, managerial position ma jagir khanu esto garo cha. Not just, I'm not saying for me हैन, but for other women, especially in corporate settings हैन. अब म त NGO को development मा, they would want a woman नै भनौँ न at some point, a woman leader नै खोज्नु हुन्छ. But in a corporate sector it's so difficult. It's because अब sexual assault भन्दाखेरि they're like coffee खान जाने meeting को लागि, but the person will, like the woman or the whoever LGBTI community ko हुन सक्छ, अब guy नै हुनु पनि सक्छ हैन. But me being a woman, I'm just going to take examples of women. त्यो woman ले त सोच्छ ए यो कुराहरु चाहिँ गरेर आउनु पर्छ भनेर सोच्छ नि त. She's not gonna think that he has a bad intention or she has a bad intention भनेर सोच्दैन नि त हैन. अनि त्यहाँ गएर कप समात्दाखेरि हात माथि राख्दिने, राइट, इज लाइक नजिक कर्नर गरिदिने हुन्छ नि, कपाल चलाइदिने हुन्छ नि, यस्तो खालीहरू चाहिँ असल्ट्समा चाहिँ परिन्छ क्या हाम्रो. अनवान्टेड एक्सन्स, सेक्सुअल एक्सन्स, ओरिएन्टेसन्सहरू. And it cannot just be workplace, but workplace is a simple example to give to everybody, just to give a clear idea of what an assault look like. So, there's assault or harassment. Assault ma say more oriented. Harassment say it's a larger divided into groups. Ma say कि तीनवटा major groups. Coercion ma say एउटा हैन, कसलाई coax गर्ने
भन्नाले
similar to blackmailing types, but coerce गर्ने, like also coax गर्ने, like to force them things to do that they don't want. But
because you have internal power,
yeah, you have an authority. And women are like the position पुग्न त गाह्रो छ, and they're always in that dilemma. And I thought, and पछि अझ यस्तो गाह्रो छ कि they're always asking, why did you leave this job? म त भन्छु हैन, I was sexually harassed or like I was workplace harassment भएको मलाई भनेर हैन. त्यो एउटा छ. Then अर्को त that's like very close to assault भयो नि त हैन. And एउटा चाहिँ harass meaning sexual harass नै हैन, can be just touching, kissing, hugging without consent at some point, you know. And emotional harassment. And harassment भन्ने बित्तिकै physical मात्रै हुनुपर्छ भन्ने छैन, emotionally पनि हुन सक्छ. For somebody who's put in that setting where म यो गरौँ नगरौँ र यो गर्यो भने मलाई निकाल्दिन्छ, that's an emotional state हैन. उसले छुने, हग गर्ने, त्यो गर्ने ठिकै छ हैन, तर उसलाई कस्तो डिलेमा भइरहला त, उसलाई कस्तो काम जान्न नमन आइरहला. She's working and functioning out of fear every day. Do you think her productivity is good? No. Her body is in stress mode emotionally. So like these are the main areas around what these are. What's an abuse, what's an assault, what's an harassment. Harassment is a little broader. Okay? So sexual assault comprises of like touching, kissing, hugging, like stroking, pressurizing, groping, but harassment covers the larger picture of things. Okay? Not it's an nitty-gritty assault, but then larger context. It gives you the space to contextualize things better. So,
yeah. So moving on to the Why Didn't I While I campaign. So can you tell us more about it? Like what led you to start it?
Yeah. So I've been a victim, a survivor, not a victim. I take my power. So I'm a survivor of sexual abuse. Sorry, assault. Again, abuse is for children. So, but that happened when I was really young. And I resonate with Sushmita. Case.
Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah. I mean, I've lived in denial when I was the longest time. And And one of the reasons why I think I spiraled down into depression so quickly was because there's already a subconscious mind overloaded with emotions that I don't want to deal with. And as a child, I used to have a caretaker, and that caretaker ले चाहिँ ठुलो मान्छेको गेम खेल्ने हो भनेर चाहिँ he used to rape me. हैन अब त्यति बेला त I didn't understand what was happening. I just couldn't, like, what is it? I just felt tired, and I didn't know what was happening. And as I grew older, and when I came back to Nepal and I started going to Shivatar, and like we used to have conversations. When was you kissed? And I used to lie because I was so ashamed. Oh, I was 3 years old, 4 years old, and people are like, how can you, like, who will believe a 3-4 year old? First of all,
You were 3.
yeah, I was like really young. I was in first, second grade, or like kindergarten. Like the vague memories of this college. But I remember it was really young. I was really young. त्यति बेलाको कुरा हो. Like I didn't know what was happening. मलाई के हो नि थाहा छैन. What is this act? What is this behavior? I had no clue. But as you grow older, you start listening to your friends, and you start hearing how their boyfriends like pecked on their cheeks, and how they hugged, and it's so romantic for them. But for me, it's traumatic. And then as you go to colleges and you had this conversation between girls as well. When was the first time you lost your virginity? Or the conversation you have with your opposite sex if you're dating or you're in some kind of relationship. I always lied. I always lied saying I was 15 years old, 16 years old, 17 years old. And how can I tell them I was like I was 5 years old, or even as small as 6, and the last time I did like the भन्नै नसक्ने के मैले अनि मैले यो story भन्नु थालेको पनि I've only accepted when I was 27. So it's just been 3 years of me actually accepting this is what has happened to me, and I had to accept it and not withhold it against myself, because it's not because I asked for it. I always used to feel so bad about myself. It's like, oh my God, maybe I'm so sexually aroused is because I'm but it's not that. And then I'm a Scorpio, and everybody has the rights to have a sexual pleasure kind of thing. So अनि त्यो conversation गर्दै जाँदा and I told my best friends only a year or two ago, and I didn't know what to do. They're crying. I didn't know what to do with it. But then I went to Dharamshala. So there's a Sangat Nepal bhaneर छ. Dharamshalama Kamla Bashteen, if you guys have heard of her. She's one of the person who started the 1 Million Rising movement. And she's a very well recognized feminist, Kamla Bashteen. So I went for her training in Dharamshala for 2 weeks course too. And that space where create garnu bhako, there were people from Pakistan, there were people from Nepal, from India. And in India is such a huge place, and then there were like so many people over there, and everybody was a session to camera. And where we were talking about our past, and where we were reflecting about abuse and any trauma, healing session kind of thing. And then I remember it was such a vulnerable space. Okay? And then you don't like to be shown as vulnerable. You're somebody who's vulnerable. But this space everybody was so vulnerable that it gave off strength. Okay? And म यो कुरा सोचिरहेको धेरै भइसकेको थिएँ के, like ever since. I was the smart kid, so that thought never escaped my brain. And I didn't know what it was, definitely. Like gender, I discovered it as I was growing in. I felt ashamed. I was controlled by that. There's so many behaviors attached and leached onto it. But then त्यहाँ गएपछि I decided, ल अब म जसरी नि भन्छु. I was like, I remember my lips were shaky. I remember my chin, the rundahiri, when you're trying to control and you're trying to speak. I don't know if people understood it, basically what I said. But the people, I caught a breath, and then I was able to share, this is what has happened to me. And then I realized that day, from victim, I became a survivor. Because I got power from my own story. And then, that's how the idea of why didn't I start गरेको मैले हैन. The hashtag why didn't I मा चाहिँ it's basically a journey that I've gone through. And saying at the age of 21, I realized what has happened to me. I'm living in denial. And I don't want to accept negative. Who will ever know? And I thought this was something I'll take it to my grave. Okay? That I don't want to share it with the world because the world didn't understand. The world does not want to understand. They choose to be silent. They choose to be deaf. And they choose to hear what they want to hear. They're very selective of things. And then on top of it, my mom passed away. And then there were already so many burning emotions. And left and right. And I was like, yeah, screw it. Yeah, I will die with it. Who will ever know? What will ever happen to me? But then I didn't realize I was living off as a victim. Okay? Until that moment. And I was victimized. I victim blamed myself. Okay? मैले गर्दा ला मैले यो गरेँ ला मलाई यो भयो ला मलाई त्यो भयो यस्तै के हुन्छ नि. It's always victim blaming myself and putting myself in a very vulnerable position हुन्छ नि. But vulnerable position which did not give us strength. Okay? Vulnerable position where people pitied me. Okay? Pitied for the person that I am. अनि पछि त्यो भनिसकेपछि I came back and I got in touch with Sangat नेपालमा पनि छ टिवामा छ अनि त्यहाँको त्यति बेलाको country director I think she's still there. Pooja Di is still there. And I told her, Pooja Di, this is something I want to do. Let's run this campaign. And then hashtag why didn't I? And then she's like, why didn't I? And then I told her, why didn't I tell the world I was raped as a child? It's because nobody would believe me. And then nobody would want to understand me. I was scared people would get angry because of it. I was scared of the questions that would come after it. And then, किन मलाई नभने?
किन पहिले नभनेको?
पहिला किन नभने? We could have gone to the police. And then, so many things. And I was fucking, what, 3-4 years old? Like, how am I to go tell my parents, oh, my, as a यस्तो गरे भनेर. And he had told me, swore to me that you कसैलाई भन्नुहुन्न. It's a very secret game. So that was in my head all the time. And it's still a secret game just until I really, really accepted it and I shared it with the world. And then, why didn't I say, are for people like me just does not have to be rape. It can just be a traumatizing experience. But nobody is going to share it. Are you going to share why you got groped? Everybody I know has been pinched on the butt, on the boobs, have been catcalled. And it's like, it's insane how we just don't say anything. Okay? And I'm gender-based violence, so I worked in a development field, and I've worked with women who've gone through this, and even worse. And so like the situation is so aggravating outside there. And it's so bad. And I just felt like we always deal with timla parna aundaina na liu copy column. But that's not how it works, right? First we need to ask copy column column samatna auncha kaile samatechau copy ke ho थाहा छ, right? You're a gender-based violence survivor. How are you going to deal with that person? Oh, go to a training, go to a psychosocial therapy, and that's it, right? We don't know how to deal with it. Okay, we just come with fancier words like Jessie, and I find it like very funny.
What is Jessie?
So Jessie is gender equality and social inclusion theory. It's and Nepal is one of the first country to actually have a Jessie framework in place. I have a lot of contradiction towards it. I did my thesis on it, but then anyways, apart from that, त्यो space छैन के, the space of feeling safe, the space when once you share it, you're not questioned. there's no fingers pointing at you. There's no people gawking at you. There's no judgment. There's no change in perception of who you are, what you are. There's none of that. Okay? So this space कसरी create गर्ने त? How do we do it? How do we actually hear vulnerable stories? How do we create a space where women are allowed to be vulnerable, or even men, or even LGBTIQ community members? There's no gender to it. This movement has no gender. It's everybody goes through it at some point. So त्यो space create गर्नलाई मैले #white-in-tie भनेर start गरेँ. Initially चाहिँ त्यो रत्न पार्क छ नि, हाम्रो बस स्ट्यान्ड छ नि, ठ्याक्कै यसरी टर्न गर्ने ठाउँ. त्यसको अपोजिटमा there's a tiny garden over there. And Bhagwati Di, me, Pooja Di, and her friends were there, and we were celebrating the launch of 1 Billion Rising program. And त्यति बेला नै I launched #white-in-tie. So what we did was we took out small meta cards. अनि मेटा कार्डमा मैले भने सबैजनालाई तपाईँहरूले किन होइन हिंसा, तपाईँलाई भएको हिंसा होइन मानसिकको पनि हुनसक्छ, फिजिकल पनि हुनसक्छ, जो तपाईँले रिपोर्ट किन नगर्नु भएको, कसैलाई किन नभन्नु भएको, होइन साथीभाइ दिदी दाइ आमा बुवालाई किन नभन्नु भएको कारण लेख्नु मन छ भने चाहिँ यहाँ पेन छ, पेन्सिल्स लाइक मार्कर्स यहाँ छ. And then we collected 25 of those meta cards that day. First day. And it was very empowering, to be honest. I felt like, wow, I created something out of zero rupees. A space for women to be vulnerable, to tell their stories. And I asked them not to put their names on it. Because I just didn't want to put a face to it. Okay? And that's what this space is all about, not putting face to it, but actually hearing what people are saying. A lot of them are abused by their own family members. Right. And they're scared to say it. And whom do they say it? Because you have patriarchal norms, the woman like believe garden men lai bhandaheri mero dewadle gareko. Do you think the mother-in-law is going to believe her story? Right? Do you think Dewar's wife, Dewarani, is going to believe that story? No, right? But then it happened. So that space is all for these women who have stories where nobody's going to believe. But we believe. We believe you're allowed to be vulnerable. You're heard. And just to share, okay? Malai tyo space from survivor, victim to survivor dina to empower hune euta space dina man लाग्यो चाहिँ. I started this off. So it's a very personal campaign, I know. But like I said, when I decided from a victim I wanted to become a survivor by sharing, and by sharing my story, I'm gaining power from it. You know? A lot of my past has been controlled by this. Okay? यो गर्यो भने ला, if people know about this, ला like हुन्छ नि डरमै नै आधी जिन्दगी सक्यो के.
Yeah, but you speaking up about this issue is going to give like probably platform दिएको जस्तै voice to other people also to speak about it.
So that's why I keep saying Sushmitako case is very close to mine. And if she can get justice, if there is a reform in our policy, हाम्रोमा चाहिँ policyमा चाहिँ rape laws or any laws, I'd say death sentence is banned. Like it's not allowed. So asking for a rapist, like say, death is, I think, illogical. Obviously, rage ma hamne bhaन्छौँ. I think we are not correct.
Yeah, oftentimes maybe it's just in Nepal, maybe it's all around the world. You know, whenever such cases come up, and then people are so hell bent on the case and not the issue. मलाई त्यो हुँदाखेरि चाहिँ मलाई कस्तो like डर लाग्छ के, because जब चाहिँ सुष्मिताको केस हुँदाखेरि the Manoj Pandey guy got arrested, everything was fine. Okay? Everybody's happy. Everybody's happy. The case is closed. Early, like there's no protest, because everybody was protesting about the statute of limitation being challenged and the statute of limitation being extended. But as soon as the guy is arrested, I'm sad bhako ke.
Yeah.
Because I knew that the day that guy is gonna get arrested, it's gonna settle down. people are not gonna like raise their voices against the actual issue. The systemic reform चाहियो नि त.
Yeah.
त्यो एकजनालाई मात्र justice दिएर त obviously it's a huge deal हैन, but it does not cater to the bigger picture नि त.
हामी त्यही त भन्ने हामी one touch को वर्ल्डमा बस्छ. We want everything fast. We want it to arise fast and we want it to end fast. And we want it to be built up fast. Policy त्यसरी बन्दैन नि त. Policy त्यसरी बन्दै बन्दैन. It takes years. 100 days को अहिले stature छ भने it was 35 before.
Yeah.
But what people don't understand is हामीले यो गर्नुको कारण धेरै छ हैन. 100 दिनबाटै any time राख्यो with proof, evidence, I don't know, whatever their policy, best policy to cater to this. राख्यो भन्दाखेरि म गएर त report त गर्दिन because I feel like I found my closure. I'm okay with it. हुन्छ नि, and I'm doing what I can do the best in my capacity. But for other people who don't feel they've gotten the closure, हुन्छ नि, उनीहरूलाई closure पाएर if they can find peace in their mind or heart, हुन्छ नि, then this could have been it. Okay, your reform जुन the change in policy that we were asking for, हुन्छ नि, beyond the 100 days stature could have been
100. I think it's 1 year.
Yeah, before it was 3500
Yeah.
So त्यो battleमा पनि WHRमा भन्दाखेरि we've been on the streets when the new constitution was being built. It was, there's been there it is a progressive reform. Obviously it's not as America or like other Western countries, but then our action नै people don't believe in change in policy, okay? Like you said, हैन. म गएँ सुष्मिताको first day मा चाहिँ I couldn't go. I feel totally guilty and that's how we are here today. I know one of the outcomes of it. But then the second thing is that the second day मा म जाँदाखेरि चाहिँ people brought their own agendas there, yeah? मान्छे रिसाइरहेछ, मान्छे रिस उठिरहेछ. There are a lot of victims and survivors themselves, हुन्छ नि, who were there on the streets because they resonated with Sushmita. And there were activists who believed in Sushmita's story. There were so many people. There were people from diverse community over there. There were LGBT allies. There were men allies. And there were, everybody was there. I know. There, but a lot of them had their own agenda. Okay. Left जानु भनेछ, right जानु. रिस उठेर बेलामा the left जाओ, side जाओ, बस, उठ भन्दा रिस उठ्दैन. It's a protest at the end of the day. हैन? It's a protest. The protest मा चाहिँ हाम्रो त्यही हो कि हामीले एउटा leader चाहिँ somebody policy मा यो गरेर policy तिर जाने, कसरी जाने, के गर्ने, कसरी गर्ने, हुन्छ नि. त्यो त्यसपछि चाहिँ एउटा ग्रुप बनेको थियो के. And there still is more WhatsApp too, and I stopped at some point because I just felt like I was dictated to do things. Policy bhaina bhane yo paristhiti huncha ni. You don't even have to go far to see kasto huncha hola. This is it. This is the paristhiti. It will get worse. It will be a one Sushmita. It will have many. Any trauma, like things that you've gone through is not खाएर digestive system ले पचाएर निस्किहाल्ने कुरा हैन के. Like I said, I decided at the age of 21 to think about what I went through. At the age of 27, I decided to share. And at the age of 28, 3 extra people knew about my story. हैन? कति टाइम लाग्यो त मलाई भन्नु हैन?
And the incident happened when you were like
I was like
5.
Kindergarten. हुन्छ नि. So how do you expect, like सुष्मिताको process मैले बुझेँ के. Like that's where I am with her. हुन्छ नि. मैले उसको process बुझेँ के. उसलाई के भयो पनि बुझेँ के. उसलाई system नभएको पनि बुझेँ. म denialमा भएको भएर, and I have a very good set of friends. I have like really good, warm, close-knit friend circles. And who's like my ride or die people. Your friend circle, let's say, kept me sane enough. And I didn't tell them directly. I never told them. मलाई यस्तो भएको छ माई यो डिनायलमा बस्दाखेरि पनि कति कुरा निस्किन्छ नि त सर्टन बिहेभियर्स उनीहरूले अहिले भन्छ कि मलाई नाउ आई अन्डरस्ट्यान्ड वाइ यु बिहेभ or वाइ यु से दिज थिङ्स बिकज that's not you जस्तो लाग्थ्यो that is such an out of place conversation or behavior that you always insist on doing it but now I understand भन्थ्यो क्या so when policy reforms हामीले जस्तो like you said हामीले मनोज पौडेललाई समात्यो छिरायो then again what is the law for him like you said I was mad as well and I was फेरि यस्तो पनि छ के रिसाउनु पनि अल्छी लागिसक्यो क्या कति रिसाउनु है अनि फेरि अब आई क्यारिड द झन्डा फेमिनिस्टको होइन अब मनोज पौडेल लिएर गयो अब यो जेल जान्छ पैसा तिर्छ निस्किन्छ होइन अनि पछि के गर्छ त खै त फेमिनिस्टहरू हुन्छ नि वुमेन राइट्सको डेमा वुमेन्स डे ह्याप्पी वुमेन्स डे भन्यो भने मेन्स राइट्स खै त भन्छ अनि आइम लाइक ए बाबा मैले झन्डा बोकेँ भन्ने बित्तिकै मैले सबैको त बोकेको छुइनँ नि त होइन आई रेजोनेट विथ I wanted to do something for this and I'm having this conversation with you guys. होइन substantial methods हुनु पर्यो अब होइन अब पहिलाको प्रोटेस्ट पनि कस्तो भइसक्यो होइन हामी एउटा सानो गलीमा छिराइदिन्छ whom is it impacting? त्यो बाटोमा हिँड्दैन गाडी युजली होइन त्यो इम्प्याक्ट प्रेसर पार्न गएको हो नि त हामीले
माइती घरको पनि द प्रोटेस्ट आजको हुने ठाउँ चाहिँ इट्स लाइक अन द साइड वक्स वेयर यताबाट मेन रोडबाट जाँदाखेरि पनि
एक्ज्याक्टली द्याट्स माई हाउस हुन्छ नि आई पास द रोड एभ्री डे इट्स अ कम्युनल स्पेस एन्ड आई अलवेज यु कान्ट मलाई नि हाम्रो पहिला WHRमा 2015मा when I went to my first protest it was so exhilarating क्या यहाँबाट पानी खाएको छु झन्डै ढुङ्गा खाना and we used to have plans के यहाँबाट यो आएर यस्तो ढुङ्गा मुढा भयो भने यो गली यहाँ यस्तो छ यहाँबाट छिन्नुपर्छ we were activism भन्ने सिकाएको क्या activism but very mindful हुन्छ नि पुलिसहरू रिसाउँछ पानी हान्छ हुन्छ नि and that's very powerful the gun the पानी the फ्याक्छ नि that's very powerful के लाग्दाखेरि निलै दाम बस्छ कि खाएको पनि छु होइन तर अहिले कस्तो भइसक्यो भने from 2015 to 2022 you're cornered in one lane and you have an angry bunch of people seeking justice or त्यही भएर पनि उनीहरूलाई रिलिफ हुन्छ होला होइन they're there to raise voices for people who can't raise voices as well but then we need to see कहाँसम्म घचेडिएको छ क्या हामीलाई होइन त यो गर्नु त हाम्रो राइट्स हो नि त ह्युमन राइट्स भनेकै यो हो हाम्रो कन्स्टिट्युसनमा लेखेको छ यो हामीले गर्न पाउने भनेर तर हामीले पुलिसले घेरेर हुन्छ नि एउटा ठाउँमा कोचेर I don't think so we'll be going anywhere. And the right way to do it is using different platforms now. And like such as this, such as Facebook, such as more conversations around this, more dialogues, more people joining hands in raising this issue. Trying to take it to national level. Gagan Thapa Julia Mata bolero pugena ke त्यहाँ. There needs to be 100 other Gagan Thapa Jew in that place to raise this issue. हैन? But त्यही हो के हामी it's like very rise and fall and it's like a tide and then बिहान हुनु बित्तिकै
it's just when cases come up the issue is addressed and if the case is solved then the issue just remains. And this is like we're nowhere. It's neither addressed. अब मनोज पाण्डेलाई मात्रै लिएर त केस त एड्रेस भएको हैन नि त. सुष्मिताको केस एड्रेस भयो. उसले a bit of hope was instilled in her and also similar to a lot of people like Sushmita. But Sushmita जस्तो व्यक्तिहरु त हामी जस्तो सुष्मिता म जस्तो मान्छेहरु त आइ नै राख्छौं नि. किन larger
जुन जड छ त्यो रुट कनालले गरेको छैन इट्स still gonna pain all the time. You're always gonna have one other person. It's gonna be me again. It's gonna be anybody. It's gonna be you again. होइन so त्यो जडसम्म पुग्नको एफर्ट इज भेरी लेस. अनि म रिसर्च गरेर भन्ने कसैलाई गर्छु यसमा गरौँ उसमा गरौँ भने हाँसिदिन्छ क्या मान्छेहरू. यो कागजमा लेखेर के हुन्छ भन्छ क्या. यो कागजमा लेख्यो भने भोलिको दिनको लागि एभिडेन्स क्रिएट हुन्छ. Somebody can take this and fight. होइन त्यो पो हो त एभिडेन्स बेस्ड पोलिसी मेकिङ भनेकै यही हो. हामीले पढ्न आउँछ आउँदैन ए लिउ कपी कलम सिस्टम छोड्नु पर्यो. हामीले पढ्न आउँदैन we need to be able to find documents which says what are the reasons तराईमा पढाइ लेखाइको कमी छ होइन. in काठमाडौँमा despite the population despite the urbanity growth why is there lack of education or critical thinking होइन. त्यस्तो एभिडेन्सहरू हामीले क्रिएट गर्यो भने भोलि डिबेट गर्नु पर्यो भने भोलि नेसनल लेभलमा पुग्दाखेरि एभिडेन्स छ नि त.
You have numbers, you have reports.
We have case studies, we have live people sharing us this happened होइन. This podcast is one of them because this is in person happening and it's not something people can just like ignore. Like सुन्न मिल्छ एभिडेन्स त छ नि त. इरेजेबल मेमोरी त छैन नि त. त्यो गर्नु पर्यो भन्छु क्या. एउटा सिस्टम एउटा एक्टिभिजमको विच इज इन मी स्टिल वान्ट्स टु गो डाउन टु द स्ट्रिट्स एन्ड डु इट बट नाउ एज ग्रोइङ अप द्याट्स नट इनफ चाहिँ मलाई.
डु यु थिङ्क अहिले आएर चाहिँ त्यो अस्ति नै जस्तै जुन चाहिँ सुस्मिताकै केसको हाम्रो प्रोटेस्टहरू भयो नि डु यु थिङ्क इट्स पोलिटिसाइज बिकज आई हर्ड देयर वाज अ लट अफ पोलिटिकलहरू पनि इन्भल्भड अर समथिङ.
अब I wouldn't want to go into it. होइन पोलिटिसाइज भनेर चाहिँ म त्यस्तो आजकल कस्तो गर्छ नि आइम इन एन्ड आइम आउट के. मलाई त्यो इन्टरनली until unless there's substantial like if somebody wants to sit and write paper or discuss something I'm in it. त्यसले यो ऊ त्यो यो त्यो.
म तपाईँ अर्को एउटा क्वेसन सोध्छु. a lot of these NGOs or so called NGOsहरू हुन्छ नि obviously they get funding if they show work or के गर्नु खोजेको and they're always trying to push your project or and they're always looking for cases or projects to do so that they can receive funding. हुन्छ नि म चाहिँ the more I get into these NGOs the more I understand the more I talk with people I feel like they just like doing त्यो एकदम टाल्ने कामहरू हुन्छ नि देखावटी काम मात्र. They show that like they're doing some work so that they can get funding but they have no purpose in actually addressing the issues.
Yeah.
Is this a reality or am I just making stuff up?
There are organization who does that but there are organization who does good as well. For instance there are organization ma bata bhako chu haina tara and few of them like you said were the similar kinds. And few of them like at the moment I'm associated with the two organizations Gyanbodh and Daitwa and it's not like that everywhere. To generalize चाहिँ गर्नु हुन्न त्यो notion but saying that त्यस्तो हुँदैन चाहिँ म भन्दिनँ हैन. त्यस्तो हुँदैन भने चाहिँ म भन्दिनँ. भूकम्प is one of those cases. When earthquake went none of the after earthquake went NGOsहरू च्याउ जस्तै पलाएको थियो अरे.
Yeah, because funding आयो नि
त हैन. And that's an example of what you said, but not exact. It might not be. They might have become better, good, and there are few who just went there for the funding purposes and not missing out on the larger vision of where they're supposed to go and all. But there are organizations like Daitwa and Gyanbodh. Daitwa might say evidence-based policy making may and that's why I feel like I understand policy making. I understand the need of evidence-based. So हामीले फेलोशिपहरू पनि गर्छौँ हैन. अनि त्यस्तोमा चाहिँ त्यस्तो स्पेसहरूमा चाहिँ people do not want to put effort देख्छु क्या हैन. भनाइदिएको छ ठाउँ तिमी आउ न गर न तिमीलाई हामी पार्लियामेन्टमा सँग चिनाइदिन्न कि मिनिस्ट्रीसँग चिनाइदिन्न कि हैन गर न भन्दाखेरि पनि त्यो एनजिओको नेचर कस्तो भएन नि ह्युमन नेचरै भयो क्या. टुडेज युथ मलाई है personal life, I'd say, been working in this field for the longest of time, at least till the time I'm alive so far. I've seen a lot of younger youth come in and go out, okay? And they come with very fancy degrees and say, Harvard, Princeton, TU, KU, PU, and say, but when it really comes down, like any interview bawal answers सबैले दिन्छ है गोली ट्याउ ट्याउ हान्छ हैन अनि when it comes to like actual like okay, can you give me this document, पैसा पनि heavy salary quote गर्छ, I think I'm worth 30-40 and it's just sad to see their work. And that's why I feel like for the youths of today, म नै पनि पर्छु त्यो youthको अहिलेसम्म त है, thank God I'm not that old. अनि we need to gain experience, okay? मैले at some point NGO मा पनि like I've lost hope, okay? अनि मैले दायित्वमा इनिशियली गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ म कन्सल्टेन्ट भएर काम गरेको हो कि रिसर्चमा. अनि they offered me, म यस्तो hesitant थिएँ के. They offered me a full-time position. I was so hesitant because I was, like I said, from my previous work, I was very traumatized. Okay? यो ठाउँ पनि यस्तै हुन्छ भनेर हैन. But that I generalized that. Okay? And I generalized that, and then I started going to office. Any consultant better pani. I was like, okay, but then office can I learn how is the office about, what I like, also traumatizing experiences you, and then I can test the water on it. I went. But then so far it's been amazing for me. Obviously there is definitely ups and downs. A काम पनि ups and downs. And when are you going to learn? Okay. There are organizations like that, Women Lead, and all these people. They're putting out spaces. They're creating platforms for youths to actually gain experience, learn. Create experience for themselves and hands-on, get their hands dirty because they think they're worth of 30,000-40,000 rupees as soon as they graduate, and then they think they're worth a UN code degree like target hola and हैन पाउनु पनि सक्छ होला हैन न पाउनु सक्दिन भन्दिन म तर I just feel like Susmitako case and then your spaces are youth को चाहिँ एकदम छिटो भयो के. Everything is एकदमै छिटो भयो.
They want it quick because our social media has made the perfect looking life so reachable होला.
Hashtag best friend goals, hashtag boyfriend goal, I don't know, but goals is so wrong.
I think our generation we just have the internalized like the social media like all that unrealistic expectations. I think that is one of the main reasons our mental health is also so bad because we expect so much from life, and that's not exactly how life functions.
But we are independent, right? Don't forget. But we're independent. I find that the hypocrisy of today's generation, the generation we all live in. I have a nephew and niece in my house. I have, and then it's us, then it's my father. So we are like already 3 generations. And I always, मेरो दिमागमा चाहिँ के हुन्छ नि यो hypocrisy चाहिँ reproduce हुन्छै हुन्छ नि अरू राम्रो कुरा होस् कि नहोस्. But the irony is the hypocrisy of this social standard, the cultural DNA मा ingrained भएको यो एउटा कस्तो behaviors छ नि हैन. त्यो चाहिँ हुन्छै हुन्छ यो अचम्मै हो भन्छ के म चाहिँ.
There's a lot of dissecting to do there also, but I think being humble and humility is a way to go forward.
I feel like those are jargons nowadays.
Oh.
No, yeah, seriously, for instance, like today's, it's a trend by say. Okay?
Be humble, Khali. Just be humble.
Be empathetic, but you're not empathy. भनेर भयो त हुनु पर्यो नि. These are jargons. Okay? Jargons.
Now it's become.
I'm a feminist. But then what does it mean to you? I'm a feminist. And I cannot feel you.
We don't. The vibe doesn't match.
No. एकैचोटि कसैलाई गएर अट्याक गर्न जानु मिलेन. I would.
They are the quick ones to cancel you.
Yeah. मलाई त कतिचोटि ब्लक गर्ने अनब्लक गर्ने आई वाज लाइक अरे यार लाइक इफ यु डोन्ट वान्ट टु बी इन माई फेस लाइक leave me alone, like I'm not doing any magic over here, I'm just doing whatever I can. And I'm sure you are as well. If I can accept you for your flaws, why can't you accept me for my flaws? And यत्रो त paragraph आउने यस्तो हैन उस्तो तिमीहरु feminist. I'm like, oh my god, म झण्डा गाड्नु गएको छुइनँ एभरेस्टमा फेमिनिजमको हुन्छ नि. I'm learning. Feminist is a space where I'm learning. And it's a very personal journey to me. I faced discrimination from childhood and I'm still learning. And because of my privilege also, I've taken up spaces for so many people. Because of my privilege, मैले पनि कति ठाउँमा मैले हेर्नु मेरो लेन्स पुगेको छैन, म सोच्नु सकेको छैन. मलाई सिटिजनशिपको केसेसहरू अहिले इन्ट्रेस्टिङ लाग्छ हैन. तर मलाई त्यस्तो हुन्छ नि, I didn't know के. I thought that's a human right, everybody gets it. But आमाको नामबाट नदिँदाखेरि के हुँदो रहेछ त हैन. विवाह गरेर इन्डियाको मान्छे यहाँ आएर हैन सिटिजन भएको मान्छेलाई सिटिजनशिप दिँदा कस्तो होला, नदिँदाखेरि कस्तो होला हुन्छ नि. My best friend is from Khorsan and she's here हैन. She's married to Kathmanduko, a friend of mine नै. And then she's been trying to let go of her Indian passport and citizenship and take up Nepali passport, and she doesn't. She's nowhere, nobody is helping her out. She's educated, she's gone to every ministry, gone back home to Khorsan, she's gone there, and there's no process in place. And then she has the most difficult time to apply for jobs that she really wants to work for.
Is it that difficult to get like husband ko naam but
process is छैन रहेछ के. I've learned from her.
But then how is it that जनकपुर जस्तो ठाउँहरुमा हुन्छ नि small areas, I've seen like recent जुन त electionsहरु भएको थियो नि त्यति बेला you see this huge influx of बिहारको गाडीहरु के come in, and there's a huge influx of like बिहारको citizensहरु people coming into Nepal, making Nepali voter card and voting ke. This is a real shit, this is like real thing eh.
त्यो चाहिँ
well, how is that?
I should have sent her there last was that I don't know of, but
don't you think that is like political agenda?
That is political agenda.
चाहेको बेलामा भयो के. And that is what power is, that is what authority is.
Because that does happen हुन्छ नि तराईतिर इन्डियाबाट मान्छेहरु ल्याएर नेपालको इलेक्सन्समा भोट गर्नु लाउँछ के.
Yeah, can अब politics is such a funny game भन्छ नि म हैन, where everything is done के हुन्छ नि नसोचेको कुरा पनि हुन्छ. Like I wasn't aware of it, but my friend has the hardest time. She's gone to Indian embassy यहाँको हुन्छ नि बिहानदेखि बेलुकासम्म. She like त्यहाँ क्यान्टिनको दाइहरुको नाम पनि थाहा भइसक्यो भने थियो के. And these are issues के. मलाई सिटिजनशिपको इस्यु छैन नि त, त्यो पनि त प्रिभिलेज हो मेरो लागि. And she's struggling,
right?
हुन्छ नि. And I feel so helpless. What can I do? हुन्छ नि. So like यही नै हो के. हामी एम्पैथी भनेको कहाँ युज गर्ने मात्रै होइन कि. त्यो एम्पैथी भनेको लेगो होइन कि यहाँ निकालेर यहाँ दिने त्यस्तो हुँदैन. एम्पैथी इज अ वे अफ लाइफ. होइन एम्पैथी भनेको मैले उसलाई केही गर्न नसके पनि आज मैले यहाँ कुरा उठाएँ नि त, कसैले त सुन्ला भन्ने आशाले. And it's an issue, it's still a patriarchal issue हुन्छ नि. I am still debating with my family members, should I, because I did an intercaste marriage. मेरो marriage certificate my name change गर्छु कि गर्दिन भनेर. And I feel like it's nobody's business. And why is it a discussion? Got on a discussion how you sons and fathers don't talk with one another nicely. Why is there tension between you guys? There's so many things to discuss. But why is it my marital status and my surname? And I told them, ma change कागजमा change गर्दिन, legal documents मा हैन, तर Facebook मा गर्दिन. Because that's where it matters, right? It's funny, okay? It's funny conversations how being married has changed conversations with me. के भन्छ नि
Yeah.
कोही आएर मलाई पहिला एकदम रिलेसनसिपको ड्याङ डुङ के भन्थ्यो भने they're so cautious with me nowadays because I'm married. भन्छ नि.
Yeah, I think we've
Interesting.
covered a lot of things, but like, how would you want people to take these things? I mean, you talked about empathy, but what is the one thing you wish people would do more often in terms of sort of discouraging patriarchy and supporting people who've gone through sexual abuse, sexual assault, sexual harassment?
One thing is I've learned is not everything about patriarchy is bad. Significance, learning the significance of things. These are such a beautiful history behind it. And आजकलको these, oh my god, no, these. But then, you know why? Because you're told you need to fast for your husband. But that's not exactly the significance of these.
These coming together.
It's not even that. It's actually the history of these. पहिला बाटो थिएन, गाडी थिएन, काँधमा बोकेर लग्थ्यो. अनि there were queens, कति state, but it was divided. And उनीहरूको ठाउँ, it was war kind of spaces, and then everybody was attacking one another. And if I was married to one of the kings, म त घरबाट टाढा हुने भयो नि त. So के गर्थ्यो, वारहरू भइरहेको बेलामा चाहिँ अब त्यो हुन्छ नि अब फिजिकल the infrastructural development or त्यस्तो के पनि नभएको बेलामा historically हैन राति खाना खुवाउँथ्यो कि, and that became डर. राति खाना खाएर कसैले नदेखोस् भनेर मान्छेलाई हैन बोकाएर लिएर जान्थ्यो नि त रानीलाई, त रानी or princess, whoever they are, अनि त्यति बेला बोकेर लाग्थ्यो. And they didn't know when they were going to eat. Okay? So it would take a day for like your district to another district. No? And then it became fasting because there is no place to eat. There is no restaurant like today or no cafes today. And then when they reached home the next day, then they celebrated by feeding her because chori ghara ayo ni ta kati पछि देखेको family सँग reunion. That is so beautiful, no? But people don't know about this. People are so quick to judge. Oh my God, तेरे बर्तला ही तेरे बुढ़ा लाई हुन्छ नि. When you understand, then you can take a proper decision if you want to be part of it or not.
Yeah, exactly. I think a lot of times the traditions and the culture that's been passed down, like when you ask your parents why,
no, they
like,
don't know.
They don't know, and there's like हाम्रो पुर्खाले यस्तै गरेछ, so we just doing it.
मेरो बिहामा पनि त्यस्तै भएको. किन यो गर्छ थाहा छैन. किन यो गर्छ थाहा छैन.
कसैलाई थाहा छैन.
Nobody knows. And my father got so mad at me. He's like,
किन सोधिरा?
तैँले सोधेर चाहिँ के पाउँछस्? And I was like, peace, mental peace. Something you guys don't understand and you think it's not necessary. Mental peace. But yeah, म चाहिँ learning the significance of things भन्छु. Patriarchy is not all bad. Hypocrisy was created because we didn't have underwears, we didn't have sanitary napkins. Women would bleed into the kitchen. That's why.
That's why they were not allowed to go into the kitchen, obviously.
And it wasn't because they were impure.
It was because hygiene.
So, aileko चाहिँ cultures are the majority of them Chinese whisper खेलेर last ना टुप्पो ना फेद जस्तो हुन्छ नि त्यस्तै भएको छ के. Because we don't have documents documenting all of these processes, how things changed. How did that conversation about Chaupadi become so sour? Because initially the राम्रैको cause को लागि बनाएको हो नि त. पहिला हामी जस्तो पो fancy launch Victoria's Secretहरू थिएन नि त हैन. पहिला त साडी एउटै कपडा हुन्थ्यो. They had to survive on हैन. एउटै कपडा हुन्थ्यो. अनि they came different ways and methodsहरू, and then त्यहाँ चाहिँ now when the story needs to be changed, then patriarchy plays a role. Okay? When story changed, they didn't want women's involvement in so many things. They didn't want, I'm just saying out loud, and these are my pre-assumptions of things as well. They didn't want women to have authority. They didn't want women to have a voice. They wanted women to be within the four doors. They wanted us to suffer at some point. And that's how the story changed into being, oh, we don't have the sanitary hygiene maintenance about impurity.
Right.
जबकि साइन्सले डिसमिस गरिसक्यो वी आर नट इम्प्योर भनेर हुन्छ नि तर अब मेन्टली कसरी निकाल्न सक्छ who are gonna tell our mothers होइन के यस्तो होइन what is she gonna say तेरो साइन्स फाइन्स तैँसँग लिएर जा भनेर they are going to dismiss us
whatever argument you last तँलाई कसले जम्नाको
exactly अनि त्यही हो कि patriarchy चाहिँ navigate गर्न चाहिँ सिक्नु पर्छ होइन इट्स ओके इट्स फाइन युआर नट अ फेमिनिस्ट धेरै फेमिनिस्ट भएर पनि धेरै फेमिनिस्ट भयो भने राम्रो हुन्छ if you don't want but if you just feel like you just want to do what you want to do but without hurting anyone there is no need to pull anybody's leg
Right.
there is no need to discount or cancel anybody out because you can't do it we need to take it with a pinch of salt हुन्छ नि यो मान्छेले राम्रो गरिरहेको छ भनेर क्या हामीलाई सिकाएकै छैन क्या कसैको जितमा हामी नाच्नु सिकाएकै छैन क्या त्यो जित भयो यसको खुट्टा काट्नु पर्यो अनि यसलाई तल ल्याएर त्यसको त्यो लडेकोमा म नाच्छु चाहिँ हामी सिकाएको छ क्या
that's always been there from early age from our schooling system to everything हुन्छ नि there's always that first second third आउने ranking and you're always like बच्चादेखि taught to compete and leave the rest behind yeah
teachers always thinking like म भने नि I was that child who was not liked by friends because teachers also मैले होमवर्क नगर मैले होमवर्क नगरे पनि तिमीले गरिहाल्छ नि के हुनु भने मलाई छोडिदिन्थ्यो के and that was not fair if I think about it right now मैले गरिनँ भने मैले गरिनँ right accountability होइन so आजको पिपलहरूलाई चाहिँ when I have to talk about being either you decide to call yourself a victim either you decide to call yourself survivor or you decide to stay in none of these sides and just live in denial and then it's your story it needs to be about you right? And not everybody will dismiss you there are people if you find the right people there are people who will actually really listen to you and make you feel like human being चाहिँ यस्तो हुँदो रहेछ है because we've forgotten what it's being like a human like because we're always पैसाको लागि गरिरहेको छ certain लुगा certain म कहिलेकाहीँ आफूलाई ऐनामा हेर्छु न wow है I only worked for this but not for the emotions of things I forget okay? So
I think like we forget that we're living in a stimulation like because society as a whole is a stimulation is a contract family they can liera money they can liera it's literally things that we made up you know so oftentimes in that surface we actually forget that we're humans first and everything built on society money finance this that everything is built over being humans
मलाई चाहिँ just an example त्यो दाई कान देउताको दाई how can somebody be empathetic or हुन्छ नि how to navigate things भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ what I do is I take closest people who understand the weird ass behavior of me and लग्छु कि त्यहाँ एकछिन कुर ल 5 मिनट दे ल भनेर अनि त्यहाँ सामानहरू किन्छु चिया किनिदिन्छु दाइसँग कुरा गर्छु I was like you do this all the time and like even my closest friends don't know I do that and it's me pushing them out of their comfort okay? It's easy to ignore other people getting hurt but it's harder to even address your own hurt okay? your own pain okay? अर्कालाई त ला दुख्यो नि ब्यान्डेडमा त किने पनि पुग्यो नि त आफ्नो मनको दुखेको त ब्यान्डेड लाएर पनि भएन and it's not an easy journey so be also very mindful about how much you're not doing for yourself and how much like you कस्तो भन्ने you tell your person के कस्तो भन्दाखेरि हामी एकदमै harsh छौँ के towards ourselves. We need to look a certain way. We need to have certain things. We need to achieve certain things. And it's patriarchy. Nida. By the age of 35, I need to have a kid. Who told me? Nobody told me.
But it's so engraved in
It's so engraved in it, and I've lived by that, and I've controlled my life that way. And that's how it's going. But it's fine.
Are you finished? Can I ask?
No, yeah, sure.
I know, because you've been talking so much about empathy, you know? But like, I think empathize gardahari say it becomes heavy on yourself. So
It does.
मेरो recent discovery personally is the difference between empathy and compassion. So how is it for you? Because how much can you empathize and कतिजनासँग empathize गर्ने के? And once you start empathizing and imagining you being in their shoes, it just becomes heavier. Okay?
You start living like their stories as well.
So, what you said was correct. When do you stop? I know. When, whom, how. Empathy is not choice. Okay? It's a way of life. People who empathize, people like you and I, will always suffer. And that's the truth. We'll always suffer. We'll always we'll get the heat. We'll always be the one will be stabbed at the back for supporting somebody. Because that somebody changed their dialogues. We'll always be that person. And we cannot change it. I don't know in any way I say it, then you change it. So I don't want to instill hope. But then I think we need to be empathetic. Okay? Why? Because somebody's going to cheat off us. Why? Because somebody's going to change their dialogue. Why? I think we shouldn't fear being empathetic. Mara, how shall I do? We have this conversation all the time. Okay? हामी empathetic भएको human beings चाहिँ साह्रै जहिले पनि यो दुखी sad ass पर्सनहरू हुन्छ नि त कर्नर हामी नै हुने रहेछ है हैन सेतो कपाल छिटो फुलिने हामी नै हुने रहेछ है दिदी भनेर के and that's true and अनि यो empathize गर्न हामीले पेसमा गर्न सक्नुपर्छ के empathize हामीले कहिले पनि expectation राखेर गर्नुहुन्न I give to that guy because I do not expect anything out of him. I just expect to support myself. And I don't expect him to मेरोलाई पूजा गरेर कान देवताको कानमा गएर केही भनिदियोस् भनेर गर्दिन नि त हैन and then so at some point you learn like whom is your empathy worth of, because it's your energy in ta and we feel like, oh, we need to do it, and sometimes that friend does not turn out to be a friend, and it turns out to be a lesson. And then, we don't. Simple. It's easier said than done for sure, right? Not the turmoil of emotions that you have to go through then. But then you remember when you feel like, okay, this is where this is getting very toxic. I cannot empathize with you. Then we say compassion. We tell them, see, nor can I be a friend with you, nor do I want to be an enemy with you. But hey, I hope we can be, we can breathe the same air, and I wish you well. Yeah, that is compassion, right? Because you don't want to, why do you want to, त्यो मान्छेले तिमीलाई बिच भन्यो भने तिमीले पनि बिच भन्नुपर्ने भन्ने त छैन नि त. There's no rule book as such, right? So I think it's about us, Pani. In the journey of empathy is a journey of ourselves. I've learned it the hardest way. I've lost many friends, and I feel I'm okay without it. My thought about friends turned out to be kaana huncha ni, and I'm fine with it. And they taught me. They turned out to be lessons, and I've learned to. BSc clinical psychology does that to you at some point. You kind of know people before, like my husband, he cannot navigate properly. He thinks everybody is nice and म चाहिँ पहिल्यै भन्छु कि यो मान्छे चाहिँ ठिक छैन है याद राख्नु है भनेर हुन्छ नि but he can't. It's also about really understanding nature of a person and then letting it go. यस्तै त हो नि. That's where that statement comes alive. त्यस्तै हो यो भनेर छोडिदिने हो नि. And then you just move on doing yourself, doing you, being you in the wholest of way you can be.
Understanding what you can control and what you can't control is like,
it's very important.
It's very important.
आफ्नै हात दुख्छ के.
Because oftentimes say you see somebody in pain and you really want to help them. That's not possible until they help themselves.
But that's very scary. Okay? I've encountered, me being in my position in professionally, I've learned that help garnu can also be disabling someone.
Yeah, exactly.
Professionally. I've sheltered few girls from harm. Okay? उनीहरूले गरेको मिस्टेक्स पनि होइन भन्दैछु यो गरे पनि होइन भन्दैछु नो यु क्यान डु दिस यु क्यान मैले हुन्छ नि उनीहरूलाई आई वाज थिङ्किङ आई वाज एम्पावरिङ देम है बट इट टर्न्स आउट मैले उसलाई त डिसेबलिङ स्पेसमा ढकेल्दैछु के where they couldn't navigate conversations, they don't know when to say what because म उनीहरूको लागि बोलिदिरहेछु नि त
robbing them of
I'm
their
wrong.
consequences.
Yeah, I was being held accountable for things that I wasn't supposed to be. First of all, is because I put myself there, because I overly sympathized. I did not cut myself, like I didn't have clear notions of things. And I felt bad for them. And it wasn't their fault, okay? If you look at the larger picture, it was me, because I spoke for them, I stood for them. I at some point did the work. I corrected it so that they wouldn't get gali. Gali khani pani the rini recha ke. So it's a very thin ice you're walking on. But if you are empathetic and you are tired of it, take a break, come back. I think.
I think
conversation.
we've come towards the end of today's episode. We had a lot to learn, and thank you for sharing us with so many of your stories. And I truly believe, as our listeners, our supporters, and our friends will really take something out of this episode, and hopefully the world, one step at a time, will become a better place.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time. I think it's like conversations like these, like always feel like it's not enough.
Yeah.
But because we have time constraints and but like hopefully we can continue these conversations even after the podcast.
Definitely.
And hopefully this is not the last time we're meeting and like having conversations.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, one of the fewest things as a child you learn is to speak, okay? And speak becomes language, and then that language becomes you, okay? And your language, this kind of language is important, okay?
Yeah.
Friday night put up a face, look a certain way, do a certain thing, do the dance that they do. I'm tired of it. Okay, I want to have these kinds of meaningful conversations where it's nerve-wracking, where your dead brain cells will come alive. And alcohol brain cells. But then, yeah, it's very important, especially for youth like us, because everybody have access to internet, they have YouTube, they have Facebook, हैन? So हामीले यो कुरा गरेको उहाँहरुको कानमा पनि पुग्छ, उहाँहरुले सुन्नुहुन्छ भन्ने नै आशा, हैन? That's hope. And it's not just a dialogue for ourselves, okay? It's a dialogue for the larger good of this community. We might be wrong today in many spaces, हैन? हामीले कति जनाको कुरा समेट्नु सकेनौं होला, कति जनालाई हामीले सेक्लुड पनि गर्यौं होला, but then it's a process. And then we learn, today we secluded these group. Oh, we need to do this one. And that's where I feel like people need to give space. Give space, be empathetic, because I'm pretty sure both of you started this journey with the higher vision in mind. There are pitfalls, unseen, unknown, that you don't know. I hope people are empathetic towards this show and the conversation you guys are going to have moving forward.
Thank you so much.
It was lovely having you on our podcast.
All right. I think this is the end. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.